The May 13th, 2026 regular board meeting for the School District of Waukesha Board of Education. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Ettinger, can you take the roll call, please?
Eric Brooks.
Here.
Mitch Gallagher.
Here.
Natalie Gren.
Here.
Thomas Harlan.
Here.
Betty Koenig.
Here.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Here.
Diane Boyd.
Here.
Anthony Zenobia.
Here.
Kelly Piasek.
Here. And Mrs. Ettinger, can you please verify that the meeting has been properly posted?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. Well, we have a lot of special guests this evening, so it's going to be a great meeting, and we are going to begin with some very bright lights, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Seberg.
All right, thank you, Dr. Piasek. We are very Waukesha proud this evening to recognize Hadfield Elementary, and I'd like to call up Principal Mike Elliott and members of the Hadfield team to the podium. So before we turn it over to Mr. Elliott, what we are recognizing here tonight is that Hadfield was recognized a 2024-25 Wisconsin School of Recognition, honor highlighting its dedication to student growth and achievement. They received the award in the High Impact category, which is a distinction based on a rigorous set of criteria, including academic performance, measurable progress in student growth, and reducing achievement gaps, particularly among students from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. So we all see Hadfield at least once every year when we talk about AGR and teaching and learning. We see Mr. Elliott and his passion for the kids and the staff, and we're just very proud of you, Hadfield in general, proud of you, Mike, and would love to turn it over to you to share some more.
Okay, thank you very much. As you can see, this is a WE award. An incredibly dedicated staff. There's teachers here, assistants here, parents here. I told them we were going to be recognized, and they all came. So it's truly a together award. And the thing that we're most proud of is the three categories: achievement, closing the gap, attendance. All of that is on the rise. And as I've come for the AGR presentations, we've talked every year about stacking years together, and it's starting to show and it's starting to happen. This isn't something we applied for. It just was recognized because of our scores and our achievements. It's built on relational trust. We have a lot of trust with one another. We have trust with our families. We have trust with our children. Family, students, staff, it's totally dedicated. I did want to share a quote, though, that I know there's been some difficult decisions made recently by the board. There was a very difficult decision when we were merged, and you get a lot of emails and a lot of interesting communications when those things happen. When we were first merged together, we received a lot of interesting communications, I'll just say that. And one of them I've kept and I've never shared, and it's stuck in my mind now for 4 years. It said, "You know deep down this will fail. You will leave. Teachers will leave. You will have a new job. Teachers will have new jobs, and the kids will be the ones that suffer." Well, I'm proud to say right now that didn't happen. I've kept that to myself. I'm a very competitive person. These people are amazing people. We've had almost zero staff turnover, and it's because of the relationships we built and the trust that these people have in each other. I see it every day. We live it every day. As schools come together, I would challenge you to build that relational trust first before you worry about anything else. That's what we did. We built that foundation, and it's grown from there, and it continues to grow. They are excited to welcome a new leader. It is difficult for me to step away and retire, but it's the right time in my life, and I just cannot thank them and you enough, and we appreciate everything you do for us. So thank you. We had to bring Hedgie. And Dr. Piasek, you were very vital in that. So
there might be some questions or comments from the board if you want to stick around for a few minutes, so, okay.
Didn't want to take too much time because I know you got a big agenda.
Okay, this is worth celebrating, and we're so grateful that you brought so many people and so much energy, which I think is just evident in the work that you all do. Was obviously a very difficult decision, but all of that aside, the culture, the support, the rallying around wanting to do what's best for students definitely didn't go unnoticed by me or I think by any of us. And so we've enjoyed celebrating those small victories along the way. And I think what's so neat about this one is that it wasn't something that we applied for or reached out for. It was truly recognition on the basis of clear and evident success. And that doesn't happen by accident. So we're very, very proud of all of you for that and grateful that you're serving the students in our district to such a great degree. Obviously, we see the extra things that you're all doing as well. So I'll stop if there's anyone else that wants to share a comment or a thought. Mr. Zenobia.
Yeah, just to echo some of those sentiments, as someone who sat through the merger on the board, difficult decision, but we knew we had the right people in place. And congratulations on your achievement, but also thank you not only to the staff there, but even to the families and everybody that put in time. It really was an effort to watch all of you collaborate and make it a success from here. Making decisions are hard, but actually doing the work to bring them to success is the job that you had. So it's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brooks.
Thanks.
Can I say something? What, if you notice this, is one of the things a true leader is it's someone who motivates the people around him and brings out the best of all of them. And he totally undersells himself about his leadership and his skill and what he's brought out in all of us, because he truly brings out the best of all of us. And so we also, sorry I'm kidnapping you, we also want to thank him in front of you and recognize what he's done.
Thank you, Kim. Eric.
That was a lot of what I was going to say, but no, I just I'm so grateful for all of you, and congratulations to all of you for your accomplishments and what you do to support our students at Hatfield. But also just very grateful for Mike and his leadership over the past several years, having to navigate that, having to deal with all of kind of the outside noise, telling you that you're not going to be successful, being able to rise above that and just prove everyone wrong and do it in a very effective way, I think is something that we're so proud of. When I first heard that you have basically zero turnover at your school, I mean, we don't see that in the private sector. We don't see that in anything, especially not education. So I think that's a testament to everything that you've done and the culture that you've built there. We'll greatly miss you, but thank you so much for everything you've done for those students.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you. I just want to echo what Mr. Zenobia said. A lot of this comes from you, Mike, and you have to recognize that. One of the beauties of being a former teacher and being in this position is I still have a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of colleagues that I've used to work with that are still teaching. I have several at Hatfield, and I hear nothing but praise for you and the culture that you've built and the people, all of you, the teachers, staff, everybody. The people that I know that are a part of that staff absolutely love it. That is what has led to your success, but it does come from the top. And Mike, you were the perfect person. And even though I wasn't around for the merger, I've watched the last 3 years, now going on 4, watching what you've done there, all of you, the staff, all of what you've done, and it is commendable. So this is an award well-deserved. Congratulations, you guys, all of you.
Thank you very much. Thanks again.
All right.
I really appreciate everything. So have a great night.
Thank you and congratulations. All right, next up, a few more recognitions. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Gennerman, I think.
Me, actually.
Oh, Dr. Siebert.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Piasek. We'll let our Hatfield staff clear out. Thank you. All right. Well, we can also be very Waukesha proud of our elementary staff as it relates to Act 20 and our implementation of the science of reading. This evening, we have a small group representing the amazing elementary educators in the School District of Waukesha. We have Melissa Yao, Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning, Emily Freeman, Elementary Literacy Coordinator, Garrett Chesky, Principal of Summit View, Erica Maurer, Meadowbrook Literacy Coach, Melissa Thieler, Rose Glen First Grade Teacher, and Laura Mesa Carl, Hawthorne Second Grade Dual Language Teacher. They are going to be sharing with you how the SDW has met the letter of the law regarding Act 20 with the required training in structured literacy curriculum through their personal stories. Thank you for being here, and Melissa, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you. Tonight, we really want to be a celebration and want you to hear from the people who are doing the hard work out in the buildings. I cannot say enough about our elementary educators. It's the reason why I choose to stay in Waukesha. Over the past few years, they have been taking on new curricular resources and have embraced that. They have also taken on new learning, relearning, and because of that, we have met the letter of the law and are seeing our students closing gaps and reaching achievement. And so we wanted you to hear from the people who are doing the work, and they're going to share their stories. I told them to be real. I'm not going to tell you what to say because I think that's the only way to be. So the good, the bad, the ugly, the struggles, the celebrations, and just great people here to represent an even larger group. We have over 300 teachers that are trained in Cox campus, which met the letter of the law of the early literacy training. On top of that, our dual language teachers did an additional 4 modules in Spanish early literacy. So just the commitment from our principals to our coordinators, coaches, and teachers. Our teachers, it was required by law for it to be K-3 educators, and in Waukesha, we did all the way K-5. So general ed, special ed, and so just can't say enough about the hard work of the team, and so now it's time to hear from them. So we're going to start off with Melissa Tyler, who is a first grade teacher at Rose Glen.
I'm a little nervous. So I asked my students what they liked the best about Benchmark, and they said the first 2 things they said were the decodables and writing. And so with this program, the kids know the components of the curriculum. We know we start off with our read aloud in the morning, and then we go to comprehension, and then it's the phonics lesson, and then it's the writing. And if one of those go out of order, they know how the program works, and I feel like the program has allowed the kids to, it's a little slower of a program, but it has deepened their skills and refined their skills. And from the beginning of the year to now, the growth is tremendous. And I can't wait for parents, we have these little notebooks that we do from the beginning of the year to the end, and the growth is so wonderful. And the parents will see the curriculum working through their children's work. And so now this is my second year using Benchmark, and I've been able to dive into the curriculum a little more. And there's lots of little trade books in there that you can use. So our librarian works with us to get those into our classrooms, and they're wonderful. And that's a lot what we apply into these literacy notebooks. And it's the little tidbits in the Benchmark, the guided practice, and apply understanding to build your knowledge. We use that throughout the week. And most importantly, my enthusiasm for the curriculum translates directly to my students. And I've seen them make authentic, real-world connections to what we are learning. For example, during Unit 7, Why is the past important? A parent messaged me to say, oh, my daughter just wants you to know she saw a Model T this weekend. So they're making those connections. Or another student brought in a fossil that was also connected with learning about the past. So the kids are excited, I'm excited, and I feel like these moments go beyond the classroom and they are helping to create curious, engaged, and lifelong learners. So.
All right. Also, we are very blessed in the school district of Waukesha to have instructional coaches who can go into the classroom and just be another person there to learn with for our educators. And so we have Erica Maurer, who is our literacy instructional coach at Meadowbrook, to share part of her journey.
Hi. As coaches, we had the opportunity to ground our coaching in the science of reading through the training with Cox Campus and Keys to Literacy. This allowed our district coaching team to bridge the gap between theory and our curricular resource Benchmark Advance. After each module that we completed in Cox Campus or in Keys to Literacy, our coaches group met to debrief and align our understanding. The alignment and collaboration allowed us to build consistent professional development for all of our elementary school teachers. Twice a month as coaches, we meet with our whole staff to deliver literacy professional development. And during this time, we focus on a single component of structured literacy. And our professional development allows teachers time to look at exactly where in our curricular resources that skill lives, but most importantly, how they're going to deliver it effectively to their students. Through Cox Campus and Keys to Literacy, I now have a wealth of resources that I can bring back to share with teachers, whether it be in coaching cycles or sessions or in our team meetings. Recently, I had a 5th grade teacher share something with me, and I know that we have teachers here today, but I asked her to type up what she had shared with me because I thought it was really powerful. She said, as a new 5th grade teacher who has taught middle school for many years, I didn't have much professional development in phonics. It has been a tremendous help to me to go through each phonics PD session at Meadowbrook as well as the Cox Campus modules so I could learn the foundations of early literacy. I also went through a coaching session this year around phonics to make sure I was teaching phonics with fidelity. I found that as students are developing advanced reading skills in 5th grade, they need continued phonics instruction because they are being asked to read increasingly difficult texts that contain longer words, have advanced vocabulary, and complex language. The skills students learn in the early grades continue to be applied in the upper elementary grades. I am grateful to have a background in phonics to help my students continue the learning they have done each year throughout elementary school. So while Cox Campus has been a wonderful platform for us as coaches and for teachers to help build expertise, our students are really the ones that benefit the most. The result of Cox Campus learning and additional professional development has for teachers and for us as coaches, is a more confident staff, a strengthened alignment between our instructional strategies and our core curriculum resources, and a clearer path to literacy excellence for all of our students that walk through our classroom doors. Thank you.
All right. And now we have Laura Mesa Carl, who is a dual language educator at Hawthorne. So last year she was in 2nd grade. She moved up to 3rd grade with her students. Really excited for her to share what it looks like in dual language and how things have impacted her and her students.
Hello. So I did implement, like Melissa said, the benchmark curriculum in 2nd grade last year and then in 3rd this year. So I've kind of had a chance to see how students have grown from year to year. So it was a lot of change at the beginning, and that can be a little hard, but I've also seen a lot of growth. So as an educator, the benchmark curriculum has provided me with high quality materials, while our Cox Campus and dual language modules, they have equipped me to adjust the curriculum to ensure that it's accessible to all my students. And then I've seen a lot of improvement in their performance in a variety of areas. So right away, during the first semester in 2nd grade, I noticed that they were growing in accuracy in both English and Spanish. And I believe this was due to the comprehensive phonics and word study instruction that I was able to provide universally to all of my students with this new curriculum. Additionally, at the end of last year and beginning of this year, I saw how my students were becoming more confident in answering text-dependent questions. The curriculum incorporates these almost daily, and this repeated practice, I believe, has enabled my students to think about the questions critically and to ensure they understand everything that's being asked of them. So we practice this every day. We make sure we answer the questions completely, and citing text evidence has now become second second nature to almost all of my students. Is very important. Their writing ability has also improved, especially when it comes to writing multi-paragraph essays. We write one at the end of every unit, and we do it in alternating languages. And this frequent practice and the building these skills from year to year, I believe, has really helped my students with writing organization across a variety of genres. Not only that, they've become organized writers, accurate readers, but they can also have discussions about a variety of grammar topics in both languages. So although the beginning was a little, shaky, because change is always a little bit hard, the curriculum has definitely upped the rigor for my students, and I feel privileged to see how they're rising up to the challenge. Thank you.
All right, and we had an example earlier tonight about what good leadership is from the teachers, from the parents, from the students who came from Hatfield. But it doesn't go remiss if we don't have instructional leaders also in the principal role. And so we have Garrett Shesky from Summit View here to share a little bit about his journey with structured literacy.
Yeah, as principals, we wear a lot of hats. As educators, we all wear a lot of hats. And I think it's safe to say principals start their day with the hat of instructional leader, and then by 8:29, that hat is changed to something else, and that just goes on from there. But it's wonderful to be able to have that hat and be able to wear it together. As an instructional leadership team, as the elementary principal group, we started this journey off learning together through the CISA 6 Early Literacy Institute, and from there really refined our practice as a team, visiting each other's schools regularly once a month, and getting into the classrooms of our wonderful teachers and observing their instruction using the benchmark curriculum when it was first implemented, and then calibrating what we're seeing and offering feedback to validate the efforts of our teachers, as Mike mentioned previously, really starting to build that relational trust among our team, not just on the principal team, but our teachers, and letting our teachers know that we trust them with this new curriculum and we're here to support them. But in order to do that, we had to be able to understand it ourselves, and Melissa led us through that work beautifully, along with Emily, and as just one representative of the elementary principal team, I can speak for us all when I say that we've really grown as instructional leaders really beautifully with the implementation of the benchmark curriculum. Everything you heard from those who spoke before me about the impact on students, it is so true. When you step into our schools, you hear our students talking excitedly about what they're reading and what they're writing. When you walk through our halls, you see the writing on the wall. You feel like you're looking at a second grader's writing, and it's a kindergartner at the end of the year. It is phenomenal. We're very excited by the benchmark curriculum and what it can offer us, and we're looking forward to seeing this continue in the growth of our students, from those who started their education with it to the fifth graders in our elementary schools.
And this journey couldn't happen without Emily Freeman, who is the elementary literacy coordinator who has helped behind the scenes. She took a lot of courses to find which was going to be the best for our teachers. So just appreciate her, and behind the scenes trying to make things easiest for teachers of knowing how to log in, how we can keep up with who all is trained. So we just can't say enough about all the behind the scenes work that she does. And I'm going to have her come up, as well as Jen, and we want to recognize our educators with a small token of the hard work that they have put in of their own learning on behalf of students. So tomorrow, in all elementary buildings, every educator will be getting a certificate of achievement for completing the Cox campus, and then we had special pins made for the School District of Waukesha that says Early Literacy Certified, just as a symbol of their hard work and dedication to the students here. And so we want to present each person. So Laura Mesa-Carl, if you will come up. She is earning 2 certificates, one for the Cox campus training and the other for the additional 4 Spanish early literacy modules. If Erica Maurer would come up. if Melissa Tyler would come up, please. Thank you. And Garrett, you get a pen because he got his certificate earlier because principals had to finish theirs beforehand, but did not get his pen. And then Emily, there is yours and your pen as well, so.
Melissa already has her
Melissa also has a
well.
certificate.
Yes, but this is not, this is about them, about
Well,
all
I
of
want,
them.
can I say one thing?
Oh,
That's
sure.
gonna be the theme, is just one person more jumping in. I was just gonna say, when Act 20 first came through, there are so many pieces to it. But from the beginning, we made a commitment that we didn't want it just to be checking all the boxes to say we were in compliance. But we wanted to make sure that it really made a difference for our staff so that it could make a difference for our students. And so we're all very grateful to Melissa for making sure that we had the PD time for that to happen, the space for that to happen, the principals for making that time in their building, and obviously the teachers for engaging in that work. But as you know, whenever there's a big, huge list of things to do, it can be very easy to just check the boxes and go through it. But we wanted to make sure that by going through that, it had an impact on kids at the end of the day. And I feel like we are well on our way to doing that, so thank you to everybody for that.
And I don't know if I said this, but tomorrow, all staff is getting these awards. So thank you for your time and hearing the stories from the people who matter most.
Thank you. I'm guessing there are some comments. Ms. Kozlowski and Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, guys. I think there's a couple things just to highlight here. The first one is Act 20 itself. When we sat with you and walked through what Act 20 was, the milestones that had to be hit, the timeline having to do all that, I remember asking how we felt about the timeline, and number one, how we felt about the PD that was required to go through all of that. You pair that then with the new curriculum that we put through, which removed self-curated materials. It allowed unison and collaboration across the district and with all of you. I don't think we can say enough how huge of an accomplishment this was. And not only to see it, we knew what Act 20 was meant to do, but our district was already ahead of knowing that we needed to go back to the phonetical approach to reading and writing. And with all of that, and to now finally see that all of the hard work, the milestones, and all of this accomplished, and now you see it in the lives of our kids, is powerful. And it says that everything that we are doing together is working for the betterment of what we're here to do. And I couldn't be any more grateful for all of you for the work and across the district of what we've done to get this done, and appreciative for embracing the curriculum, because I know how hard it was to go through all the phases, and we're almost done. We're almost done, but thank you.
Mr. Brooks.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think early literacy is by far the most important thing that we do as a school district, that our responsibility is to make sure that our kids are able to read and write at grade level, especially in those early grades, because that skill trickles into every other area of education, right? If you're not going to be successful in math or science if you don't know how to read the questions that are being posed to you. So thank you so much, and congratulations on all the work that you've done. So as someone who in my day job was involved in writing the actual legislation around Act 20, when we're writing legislation, it's easy in a canned environment to think, oh, this sounds great, it's going to work out perfectly, and we know there's always going to be bumps along the way and challenges. What was it like with some of those educators? And I know we were starting to do this before Act 20 came down, but one of the toughest things is when you have educators who've been, they've been taught in college that this is the way that we teach reading and writing, and all of a sudden there's a shift. How are those conversations like with those educators? Because we know change can be hard. And what supports were put in place to help kind of make sure that they knew, hey, this isn't anything that you're doing wrong. This is something that, we've just been not teaching reading the right way as a state and as a society for a while. We got away from the things that we know work. How do you make teachers feel comfortable with something as daunting as this?
Laura or Melissa, do you want to answer that? Just, yeah.
Well, I think one thing is Emily created these wonderful literacy stations for us. So the kids are doing they're doing quality activities during their literacy time. And so for first graders, 6 and 7-year-olds, they have a little attention span. So everything they do needs to be rigorous, and it needs to be worthwhile. So we have this wonderful thing that Emily created. She has created slides for us. She has created all the activities the kids can do. And like I said, it's rigorous, and it really pushes them forward. And each month or each week, it builds upon the skills, and it's directly connected to benchmark. So I think that's one support the district, Emily has given us, and it's been wonderful.
And then from a student perspective, so one of the key pieces of Act 20 is the individualized reading plan for students who are falling below that threshold. Talk me through how you as a team kind of create that individualized reading plan for a given student, and what's the follow through like for that?
So for reading plans, so 3 times a year, we do first our universal screening, and then from there, do further diagnostic assessment on the students who score below the 25th percentile. And then we go into, me and Melissa and a couple other people go into the buildings to help with that diagnostic testing. And then we bring all of the teams together, which is the principal, the coach, the school psychologist, if they have interventionists, to really look at that data, and we walk them through a process of looking at how they're, with the resources they have and the needs they have in their building, how they're gonna develop their intervention plan as a system in their school. And we have lots of documents that show, like, for this need, here are the interventions that we have available. And then they really get down to business and write these plans so that they all can get sent home to parents. And then we progress monitor all those students weekly. Parents get updated within 10 weeks or when that intervention cycle is over, if it's less than 10 weeks. And then we do it again and we reevaluate what's working. If a student is still flagged in need of intervention, we closely review the progress monitoring data to say, is it working? They're just not there yet, so we can continue with a few small tweaks, or do we need to completely revamp that? But I would say that got off to a rocky start too, just because there's so many little pieces to it, and to make sure we had everybody understanding and in compliance with it, as well as then making sure it actually made a difference for the kids too. But I feel like we're getting closer, I don't know if you'd agree, Garrett, to being more of a well-oiled machine of, like, they've now internalized the protocol. They come to our sessions that we hold for the writing of the reading plans already, like, with things in mind, and are ready to go. And it is nowhere near as guided anymore, because they've really internalized the requirements, the needs, both of the law and of the students in their building. We have more helpful information on students than we have ever had before. And that is exciting to then see that, to help us know how to interact with them and then how to change that data.
That's great to hear. I think that's when we put the individualized reading plan piece in there, it wasn't, oh, we want to make more work for people. It was exactly that, so that we can find out new information about our students and figure out exactly where to help them. And then one last comment, I'm just really excited to hear how excited the students are about the curriculum and what they're reading. I know when we were first working through this, one of the big criticisms that we heard was, oh, phonics is boring, the kids aren't going to be as engaged, they're not going to be interested in the stories. And I think not just here in Waukesha, but other school districts that I've spoken with, that's been the exact opposite. So thank you all for making this happen.
Anything else? Thank you all for being here and for everything that you're doing. Okay, thank you. All right. Our students have been waiting patiently, so now we are going to hear a report from our student representatives. We have 2 schools reporting tonight, and I think we're going to start with East. Is that correct? Okay. So we will start with East High School this evening and welcome Jalen Olive and Dayton Benson.
Hello, everybody. I appreciate you guys having me here. Miss Poppy's gonna bring up the thing real quick. So, yeah. It's over there. Oh, it's further away. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Jalen,
My name is Dayton.
and we are from East High School, and we are going to be showing or telling you guys about the new kind of classes / studios we have at East High School.
So these are some of the titles of our new classes that we just started recently, and yeah.
Okay, starting off, legal side hustle. At East High School, we have many great learning experiences that are both engaging and fun for students. This is one of them. In this class, I'm making candles, and Dayton is also in my class, and he is refurbishing furniture. There's many other things that students can do. They can bedazzle things, like put jewels on things. What else is there?
Soap.
Soap. You can make soap.
Our,
You can literally do anything.
What's
You can
her
make T-shirts. We have 3D printers. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of things that you can do there.
Alrighty. And then this is guitar in action class. So in this class, we learn how to use certain skills to play the guitar efficiently and learn brand new songs. These guitars have been donated by Jerry at the Guitar Chief, and I believe that is downtown Milwaukee. In this class, we work on social skills, a little bit of ELA, and we learn how to create goal setting.
The Inferno. This is our school store. We sell things like coffee, chips, chicken nuggets, pizza rolls,
French fries,
drinks, Hot Pockets, corn dogs, a lot of things. Slushies.
We got
Yeah.
everything, man.
Everything. It's pretty cool.
Alrighty. And then this is our class Drone Zone. Are you going to play the video first? Okay, alright. We do have a video link for this just to show a demonstration, but I will just go over the class first. Students explore the exciting world of drones by learning about flight, drone laws, and safe operation. Through hand-on challenges, students practice flying drones through obstacle courses while building problem-solving, teamwork, and technology skills. Students then take recreational zone safety tests, which allows them to fly drones recreationally. Sorry. Yeah, video's good. And then here is a demonstration.
Hold it higher so I can hit it and fall to your face. Go a little bit down. There you go. He's like moving it with you.
Boom.
And then I do believe with this class, by the end of the class, at the end of the semester, you can earn your drone flight license, so you can fly these type of drones commercially outside of the school, legally, so.
Okay, growing in partnership. In this class, there's a lot to it. So one thing we do is we work with the WTA students with learning disabilities sometimes, and we go and plant things with them. And when we're not with them, we're doing hydroponics. I don't know if you guys have seen like the hydroponic system thing. It's pretty cool because like you just plant the seed, and then I don't know how to explain it. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's pretty cool because just because we get to work with the WTA students there, and they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. Yeah.
Alrighty, and then this is the restaurant of our school. It's called the Global Spoon, and I will say the food is very good. So at the Global Spoon, students bring world cuisine to life. Each month, culinary arts students create a new menu inspired by a different region of the world, taking orders, preparing meals, and serving East students and staff in their on-campus restaurant. From chefs to servers, students gain real-world culinary and customer service experience while exploring cultures through food.
I think that was
Oh, this is me? Oh, I didn't. Okay. So the reverse job fair, we had, what were those people's name? I'm sorry. The workforce, yeah. So we had the workforce come into our school. They taught us how to create resumes, how to do a proper job interview, how to, just future life skills when you become an adult. I didn't take this for granted, and I was very interested in. We created posters introducing ourselves to future job employers. We had a presentation happen to where job employers came in and they looked around, and some people got offered a job because of these posters. It includes our resume, things about us, our life skills, work skills. Yeah.
Okay, Fall Student Showcase. Here we can present our any project that we want. For example, one of my friends is doing a book. He's presenting just about the book. Me, I'm gonna be presenting my candles that I've been making in my class that I have with Dayton. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right, so for East Extravaganzas and Crew Challenges, our monthly East Extravaganzas and Crew Challenges help build school community, celebrate student success, and strengthen school spirit. Students with 90% or higher attendance are recognized along with our Phoenix Flyers, students nominated by staff for demonstrating East 3 pillars: integrity, grit, and excellence. Also, what began as a student-created scavenger hunt has grown into a school-wide crew competition full of fun and teamwork. In our latest challenge, students searched the building for tiny hidden cows, with the winning crew earning the coveted Crew Challenge trophy.
Upcoming events. Okay, this spring we have the student showcase. It's from 5 to 6 in the Waukesha East Gym. And also graduation is June 11th on Thursday, from 6 to 7:30 in the Waukesha East Gym. Thank you guys for having us.
Really appreciate it. I just want to say I really do love this school. It's been so easy to bond with other students and other teachers. I honestly love everyone there, and I've never liked a school like that before, which is honestly shocking. But yeah, I love the teachers there. One of our main office attendants, Miss Jamie, recently got diagnosed with cancer, and my mother had cancer in the past, so I thought one day I'll just bring in some flowers for her, and I gave her a nice hug. She has surgery soon, so I love these teachers and I love these students, so I really appreciate it, you guys.
I second everything you said. All right, thank you guys.
Hang out for a second. Thank you both. Would you mind hanging out with us for just a few minutes? I'm sure there's some questions and reactions for you. Your presentation was excellent. Thank you. Mr. Harland.
So Dayton, I'm curious, what is the most difficult piece of furniture that you've had to rehab?
So in the past, I would say last semester at the beginning of the year, me and my teacher, Mr. Fromm, and a couple other students decided we were in a construction class that dealt with like math and ELA, and we decided to turn an old bed frame that Miss Poppy gave us into a working bench. So we took the headboard, we put it on the back, and we cut the bottom, the footboard in half, and we created the sides with it, and it was a beautiful piece. It was really nice. I I just love woodworking and I like hammering nails and stuff. I've repaired benches, side drawers, dressers. I work at Habitat for Humanity, the Restore. So we get a lot of furniture donated, and a lot of the stuff that they don't want, I decide to take. There's certain limits on what we can take and not, but I was like, why take it to the dump? Give it to me, I'll fix it up. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And then I guess a follow-up, is that something that you're going to continue on in
Yeah, we'll
hobby
see.
or career?
Yeah, I have a couple options right now. I'm still deciding over the summer. I'm gonna probably make up my mind. I'm just focused on school right now. I'm gonna graduate, so that's a big thing. I'm just looking forward to that right now. But yeah.
Very good.
Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you. Through my day job, I have the privilege of doing a lot with East High School, and I was able to be one of the mock interviewers and judges for your reverse job fair. The thing that really impressed me about everyone I met with, every student that I interviewed, was the confidence and the poise and the friendliness and just overall ability to sell, what they're all about. And I think I can see that with you too as well, that you just have a certain sense about you. You know who you are, you know what you like, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. You just continue to grow. And I think that word, one of your 3 pillars, grit, you can tell that that is something you all internalize. And every time I visit, East for various functions that I'm involved with, I just see that over and over, whether I pop in for, to meet with a different student, and whoever I run into, smiling, positive. You're right, you have a real vibe there that's pretty powerful, and I just love, running into Mrs. Poppy every other, week. But there is something magical there, and I can just see whenever East students come and talk, you both included, it just comes through that you are extremely connected, and that says a lot to the staff and your principal that cultivates that in you. So I'm really excited every time I go. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. Great job to both of you, and I agree with Dayton. East is such a special place, and I'm always just blown away anytime I hear from students from there or get a chance to go. I'm hoping to be at your graduation this year. Talk to me about legal side hustle, because I think that is such a cool concept, and it sounds like there's it kind of sounds like the opportunities are endless for different interests. But are you also kind of learning some of the business pieces of how to start a small business or grow a small business? Talk to me a little bit more about what that is like.
I say yeah, but that's more so at the start of when we're starting it, because we watch Shark Tank videos. We at the start of every class. It's not like we're watching it through the whole class, but we watch it at the start of the class, and we just see how people handle themselves in presenting something that they want to invest in, something that they want to continue forward in life with. So I'd say yeah.
Awesome.
I also want to say, seeing these students present their side hustle to Miss Poppy and showing them what they want, it was crazy seeing how confident these students were. I just want to say, all the other high schools that I've been to, the students, they're they stand up there, they're scared, they start fumbling their words, but man, these kids here are just super confident. The bond that we have with each other, no one's scared to talk in front of other people. We have small groups, so everyone's comfortable with each other, and it's nice. I feel really comfortable there.
Sure. Thank you.
Of course.
Anyone else? Well, your enthusiasm is contagious. I think we're all highly energized by the things that you shared, and just even I appreciate how much you know about the things, even if you're not personally involved in them. That shows your commitment to the school and your fellow students. So that's very exciting. And we have every year multiple opportunities for students to come and present, but you were able to show us even some things tonight that I think were new for all of us. So even those that spend a little bit more time with all of you. So thank you for that. You guys did a really nice job, and congratulations on graduation.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving to our citizen speakers. So we're Oh, thank you. Nope, I forgot about that. Thank you. Yes, moving to our eAchieve presentation. So we have, actually have 4 students who are going to present to us this evening. And who do we have in person tonight?
Hi, I hope you guys are all doing well tonight. My name is Win Mukai. I am from Golden, Colorado, and I'm a freshman at eAchieve. I have had a great school year so far. I had a challenge with a lot of the work that we had, but the teachers were amazing, and whenever we had questions, they were always very quick to answer and give us the help that we needed. I really liked that eAchieve was so flexible because I play hockey. Excuse me. So I play high-level hockey, and having a school schedule that was so flexible for me was extremely helpful because I can work at my own pace, and when I go off to play tournaments, I'm able to get my work done for that week and still be able to focus on what's next for my hockey. And I would say my favorite accomplishment from this year so far has been my my goal of getting straight A's, and I've maintained that all year long. And I've always been really focused on getting straight A's because that is just a great route for me academically, and it will help me get into college in my future. And I have a goal of playing NCAA Division I hockey, so having straight A's is just a super good way for them to see that this is a good academically smart young man, and he is able to play sports and is smart as well. And my teachers, Miss Lewis and Miss Ronke, and also my math teacher, Miss Burns, have all been really, really helpful. Miss Lewis and Miss Burns have come to a few of my hockey games last season and supported my team. And that just shows me that they're dedicated and they really care about the students there. And it's really awesome because whenever you have a question, you can get that question answered almost immediately over email. And it's different at a regular school because if you go home and you have a question on your homework, you have to email them, and there's a chance that they're not going to get back to you until the next day. But with eAchieve, they're able to get back to you really, really quick. So I really appreciated all of the hard work that my teachers put in, and I had a great year at eAchieve.
Thank you, Wynn. There might be a couple questions for you. I have one. Can you tell us a little bit about how you balance hockey and school? And is there a typical day? There might not be for you, but what does it look like for you?
So throughout the season, I went to a school at, I don't know if you're aware, Pettit National Ice Center in Milwaukee. So I went there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I did a school there where there were 3 other boys that were all my age, 2011, freshmen, and we all did eAchieve as our curriculum for school, and we skated, worked out, and then we would eat lunch and do school for the rest of the day, and then we would have another practice usually that night, and we would just usually so they have a pace chart at school, so we follow what we're supposed to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that will help us get our schoolwork done day to day and help us stay on track for the week.
That's a full day.
Yeah,
You have to be pretty disciplined for that.
Yeah.
It's impressive. And to keep your grades up.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Mr. Harland?
I
And
guess, maybe I missed it. What grade are you currently in?
I'm a freshman this year.
Freshman, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm assuming hockey is going to be your number one focus.
Yeah.
What's your favorite subject to dive further into?
School-wise? I would probably say I really like history or biology. Those are the two I've had this year, and it's been really fun learning about, especially in biology. It's been fun learning about how ecosystems work, and we also had a unit about how our bodies grow and change. So we learned about how we have scabs after you get cut. So we learned all about how your body can heal itself, and that was really interesting for me. So I enjoyed biology the most, probably.
Excellent. And then could you speak a little bit more to, I think it's unique that you had other teammates that were going through class with you. Can you speak to how that has impacted your school experience for eAchieve?
So I had 3 other boys, and they were all on my same hockey team. One was in 8th grade, and then the other 2 were freshmen. So I think socially it was kind of a small group to be around, and that was definitely a challenge, but I think we all enjoyed each other's company every day, and we grew to be some really close friends, so I think we all really enjoyed the school year.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mrs. Voigt?
You had mentioned that you were from Golden, Colorado. How did you find out about eAchieve?
So I moved out here to play hockey, and the coach for Milwaukee Junior Admirals, I don't know if you've heard of them, but he started a school, and he had moved out from Colorado to Wisconsin 2 years before I did, so I think 2023, 24. So he started a school here at Pettit, and he just offered me to go there, and I was thrilled about it. I get to skate every day and work out, and that's awesome. So I was immediately instant yes for that. So I really enjoyed being able to have that opportunity.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Wynn. And
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me.
thank you.
Have a great night.
I have a lot of names on my sheet, so I'm not sure who we are. Okay, okay. All right. There they are. Wonderful. Welcome, can you hear us? Seeing some nods.
Couple nods.
Oh, there's Jack.
We can hear you.
Great.
Hi, Greta and Pau. They are going to introduce our other 2 students, and then you'll hear a little bit from each student and their story, and then Greta and Pau will wrap it up for the rest of us.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Greta, and I am in 11th grade.
Hi, my name is Paulina. I'm also in 11th grade. Since we were able to share our story at eAchieve last time, we're happy to say that we have 2 other eAchieve students here with us.
First off, we're going to have Justin talk.
Sorry about that. Hello, my name is Justin Jovanovich. I am in 11th grade this year, and I live in Germantown and attend AHU now for my 2nd year. And my school year has been pretty well for the most part, rather than a few upsets, but that's mainly because I don't know algebra that much. But rather than that, I have a great time attending classes, getting help if I need it. But mainly, the material in my classes are easy to go through and understand. But my strong suits are mainly in history and literature. I decided to go to eAchieve because the previous online schooling program I did go with didn't have what I needed, and the extra help I needed. So after that year, I decided to switch programs, going with eAchieve. I am glad I did. And then one of my highlights is probably being able to stay on pace with everyone else, and that if I don't complete an assignment, I don't have to rush to finish it. And then one teacher that helped me a lot throughout my time here at eAchieve is Miss Meisling, who helps me complete some of my assignments and or go over some steps that help me understand more about it. Another teacher that has helped me is really all of my teachers who have their classes set up and easy to go through. If I need to find specific information. And here's a picture of my dog Lucky, who's a Saint Bernard and Newfoundland mix. And that's about it. Any questions?
Thank you, Justin. Are there any questions? You mentioned your favorite classes. Can you tell us again what were those and what is it about those classes that you like?
I like majority all of my classes, but if I had to name a couple that I like more, it would probably be world history and American literature. But the reason why I like them so much is because, well, I've always been more of a typing person than I am a hand writer. But I've always had a lot of known knowledge of history. But that's more in the earlier ages of our planet. But that's mainly in but mainly those are the Greeks, the Romans, and everything past them.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions for Justin? I'm not seeing any in the room. Thank you very much, Justin. We appreciate meeting you.
Yep.
Greta, are we going back to you or are we introducing somebody new? Okay.
And our final student is Jack. So Jack, when you're ready.
Hello, I am Jack Miranda. I am an 11th grade student from Appleton attending eAchieve. Good evening, Mrs. Edwards.
Good evening, Jack.
My school year has been going really well. I've been on the honor roll twice. Once during my sophomore year and first semester junior year. My GPA is 3.24. That is something I am proud of. I chose eAchieve because everything is manageable. The workload is decent, and all of my teachers encourage me to do my best. They are proud of all of my achievements from start to finish. Online learning is a way to manage my schedule, and doing it all at home gives me time with family and friends. One highlight I am proud of is completing all of my assignments on time and with care, which is reflected in my improved grades and GPA. A teacher who has really helped me succeed is Mrs. Edwards. She helps me understand the material and develop strategies that allow me to demonstrate my learning, including the learning plan she shares with me after our meetings. And for that, I think she is the best teacher in the world, in my opinion. Thank you all for having me and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Jack. Are there any questions for Jack? Mr. Harlan?
I just said much about me, and I believe I am a great student to do this. Especially if Mrs. Edwards thinks so. Because I see her 3 times every week.
there's a lot of people in this room that think you're a great student. It sounds like you're very successful. So
Yes, I am.
I think we want to know your strategy. Mr. Harlan, do you have a question?
I think his strategy is to butter up the teacher.
That's right. Mr. Harlan, go ahead.
So Jack, I guess similar to a previous question, how did you get to eAchieve, being from up in Appleton?
My mom got me a great teacher for me to help with, and I am probably a great student for that. That helped me learn and succeed and grow. It's makes my heart warm up a lot.
Excellent. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
No
Mrs.
problem whatsoever.
Mrs. Koenig has a question too.
Thank you. I'd like to hear this from all four of you whenever it's your turn to kind of wrap up or add anything, but I don't know if we found out, what are your aspirations? Like, what would you like to do, when you're done with school? Where do you want to head next? Each one of you, Jack, Justin, everybody. Well, we'll start with you, Jack. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking about trying to go to a college somewhere near me.
What would you like to study?
I might like to. I have no clue on what I might study yet, but I hope I find something really well for me that
Oh, I'm sure you will.
works with me and my family.
Well, you'll find something. I'm confident of that. Justin, how about you?
I have been hard set on paleontology ever since I was 5 years old. So we are planning on sending me to a college. I forget exactly what college. But I'm gonna start online and then try to work my way in person.
Awesome.
It's exciting.
Thank you.
I hope to go to a college and study. I'm not sure what specific major yet, but I hope to go to college for business.
I'm planning on going to college for art. It's been a long time dream of mine, so I've been working hard to achieve that here.
It's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you all. Any other questions? Any of our students? What does the end of year celebration look like for all of you? How does the school year end? What are you most looking forward to? Anything?
Personally, I hope to be able to stay up late and be able to sleep in long, which I can already do, but to be able to do it without having school when I wake up, that will always be a very exciting time when school ends.
I personally believe it'll just be nice to have known that I was able to successfully complete everything. Just keep up that good um, emotion for next year.
For me, I will enjoy life, and I'll go to the end of the year picnic the last week of the school year, I'm guessing, and I'll go swimming, go to the beach and stuff, take some vacations. I'll have a great summer, and that's what I'll do when I'm done with school. It's going to be phenomenal for me. and enjoy bike rides and stuff. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, for me, it's a little bit more basic. I had to first get my fishing license, but once my grandpa and my uncles get back from Erie that they're on right now, I'm planning on going. I'm planning on going fishing with them for a whole lot during the summer, but as of now, it's just same old, same old. Getting have you want for your day to day.
Thank you very much. I love how you all have different reasons for being at eAchieve. You have different things that you love and that you're passionate about, and even different things that you're looking forward to this summer. And I think it just reflects just the diversity that we have and the ability to offer programs that meet people where they are. So it's really great to meet you, Jack and Justin, and to have our other students back. And we're kind of looking forward to hearing what's next for all of you as you come back in the future. Just looking to see if there's any other questions or comments. We wish you a great end to the school year.
Yes, I will. I promise I will make it great. I don't think I have anything else to say for me but to say thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Wynn, for being in the room as well. Nice to meet you.
And I'll see you on Monday, Mrs. Edwards.
He's still here.
And thank you so much for having us.
Thank you guys for being here. All right, well, I'm glad I didn't skip over that accidentally, so that was fantastic. So much positive so far, so I think it's just been a really good hour. All right, now we are moving into the section of our meeting where there's an opportunity for citizens to speak. We have 4 speakers this evening, I believe, yes. Each individual will be allowed up to 5 minutes to complete their comments. We will notify you at 3 minutes. We expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language, and to be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future board meetings. Speakers are here to address the board, not the audience. The school board does not endorse any comments made by members of the community here tonight. We'd like to remind our community members of the impact of their words on others and that our children are watching. We commit to communicating with you in respectful and productive ways and ask that you do the same. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and of the board and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that will detract from the meeting. Please note that no obstructions can be created between the board and the audience. Visual aids cannot be used in the area behind the speaker, and podium should be clear during public comment. Also, in order to respect our speakers and meeting participants, please silence your cell phone. Our first speaker this evening is Melissa Toledo, followed by Beth Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Melissa Toledo. You all should know me by now. I was only doing this for 3 minutes, so I'll add on some extra stuff at the end. But there are many important issues facing our district right now that we must publicly address. But tonight I want to address the sale of Hawthorne Elementary School because this decision cuts directly against what so many residents said they valued during this election cycle: fiscal responsibility. Throughout the closure process, families were told these painful decisions were necessary to protect the district's financial future. We were told closing schools was about responsible budgeting and long-term stability. But now, after closing Hawthorne, the district has sold the building to Adeline Montessori for just $2.5 million, a decision that could ultimately cost taxpayers far more than it brings in. Why, you may ask? Because Adeline is a public charter school. Every Waukesha student who leaves SDW for Adeline takes public funding with them, estimated at roughly $10K per student, per my research. Could be different, we can confirm afterwards. But $10K per student per year. So if you look at numbers, if they enroll 200 Waukesha students, SDW loses approximately $2 million every year. If they enroll 300 students, you can do the math, it roughly becomes $3 million. Lost annually. And then here's the problem. The district, along with the board who approved the votes, told us that school closure plan would save about $3.2 million per year. So after putting families through an emotional and divisive closure process in the name of fiscal responsibility, we may have immediately created, we is more the district, have immediately created a nearly identical long-term budget loss ourselves. This is the exact opposite of financial responsibility. We were told declining birth rates was the crisis. Yet this decision may accelerate enrollment loss by creating a taxpayer-funded competitor inside one of our former buildings. It only takes one person to hop online on Facebook and see how many SDW families are already inquiring about moving to that school outside of our SDW public schools. So we did this to ourselves. Meanwhile, former Hawthorne students are being redirected to crowded schools like Lowell, which is where my child will now be going, while families may literally walk past their old neighborhood school to attend one over capacity. Also, this Monterey school is already marketing directly towards Waukesha families with tuition-free Montessori education, a bilingual program, while our program remains to be not promoted, talking about many things there on the next topic, and infant care and plans for high school expansion. Residents deserve answers. How was this considered a financially sound decision? Was the long-term impact on taxpayers fully discussed? And why are we willing to risk millions in recurring losses after closing schools supposedly to save money? This community asked for transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility. This specific decision does not respect or reflect those values. Thank you.
The next speaker is Beth Nelson, followed by Paul Reese.
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to start by congratulating Mitch Gallagher on his position on the board, and congratulations to Diane and Bet for your reelection. I just wanted, I'm not going to take 5 minutes, so everyone can breathe a sigh of relief there. I did want to talk about the lice situation, though, that has been running rampant in our second grade class. We've had 4 separate cases this school year. Part of it might be my fault because I jinxed us when I told my husband, at least we've never had to deal with lice. And that was at the start of this school year. My concern is that notification only happens if a large percent of the class has lice. And I feel like that needs to be stopped immediately. Students are allowed to return the next day. In many cases, they're not free and clear. And they're not checked. And that is why so many of this keeps reoccurring in our assistants in this class. I know for a fact that they're not being checked because I've asked the school and it's not happening. And the other frustrating part is the only way we're finding out about our kids having lice is because we're talking in the pickup line. So the school's not telling us this. So I'm finding out from other parents, oh, my son, I checked so-and-so on Saturday and he had lice, so I treated him, he's good now, but whatever. Who else has lice? And I know you're thinking, well, this is more of an inconvenience than it is anything, but I invite you to come over to my house 4 times a year and take all the bedding off the beds and all the stuffed animals and check my kid every single day before he goes to school and trying to prevent us getting lice. And also just the mental drain that takes of you scratching yourself thinking you have it. I don't feel like it's my responsibility to notify the parents in our class. That's the school's responsibility. A simple letter could go out to parents if someone has it, and I really think students should not be allowed to return until they are checked and free and clear of lice. Because I think in this case, it's a repeat offender and they have not eradicated it, so it just keeps reoccurring in the classroom. So more frustration than anything, but thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Paul Reese, followed by Chris Nestigen-Palm.
Good evening. Last month I came to talk to you about Diane wanted to put forth a policy that would limit speaking from the podium that she called that it was attacking her. She felt she was being attacked from here. And I just pointed out the absurdity of that when she went after our superintendent the way she did. After that, Karen Polarski called me. And I'm like, well, okay, so I called her back and contacted her and talked to her about that incident. And then I waited for the paper to come out, and a couple of days later, the paper came out and had the article in it. And I started reading it, and my jaw kind of dropped when I read it. It says, it was a quote from Diane. She's talking here about why she feels the way she does about it. I have prayed daily for years for reconciliation with my enemies. Paul was the first on the list 7 years ago. The list of enemies has grown significantly during the past 3 years on the board, with the many hateful comments on my social media during the campaign. So I found that very troubling, that as a parent, that there is an enemies list with my name on it. I don't think anyone else here would like that. I don't think if Mitch came onto this board and found out that Dr. Siebert had him on an enemies list, he would be impressed. I wasn't. And then so I OR'd, who's on the list? I said, Diane, I want to know who's on this list. Of course, me, number one, David Wad, Mike Walsh, Carrie, Kelly, Christy Miller, Eric with PAC money, and Betty were all put on this list. I just, the absurdity of this just floored me. First off, Christy Miller is on here, and I argue with Christy Miller all the time. Christy Miller was the biggest advocate for keeping Bethesda open, for those who don't know, in our group. She argued relentlessly for it. And I never hate her for it, for having a different opinion on something. And if I argue harshly about it, it's because we're supposed to do that. Solomon said, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. When we have conflicts and we want to work out ideas, we have to present them to each other. And when we do that, it's an understanding that they're not going to be the easiest discussions. That iron is something that clashes together when you discuss things, and that's how you sharpen it. It's how we sharpen our ideas.
Minutes.
We don't do it by blocking people, and we don't do it by putting people on lists. I swear, if Kelly did something like this, she would be asked to resign. There is no doubt that if she had a list like this, that the pressure on her brought to resign would be immense from this community. The level of this absurdity. And then it says, hateful comments on my social media accounts. I was going to OR which one of these people on here put hateful comments on your media. Because I don't think anyone did. I don't think Kelly and Carrie or Christy or Betty put any hateful messages on your media. I don't think Eric did, or David, or Mike. And I know I didn't, because I was blocked this year. So I don't understand that logic and why that is on there. I'm troubled by this. I was troubled when I read it. It's Nixonian. We reduced the bar here once again, Diane. It has been an ongoing thing. That the bar has been dropped. When you went for Jim Siebert, that was just, I thought I'd never see something like that. And it didn't take long for it to happen again. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. Thanks.
Our last speaker this evening is Chris Nestagen-Paul.
Hi. I'm here to urge the board to vote no on random drug testing of students. So I'd like to share with the board the thoughts of one Waukesha district parent that she posted on random drug testing, because her thoughts resonate with mine. She wrote, why would we make our kids, or want to make our kids feel like we don't trust them? I'll test my kid myself if I feel there is a reasonable suspicion they are using. If the school's questioning a student's use, they should be contacting parents, not doing a medical test on them. Would the school be obligated to report the findings to the Waukesha Police Department? And her last line really got to me. A lot of potential lifelong impacts for a kid that has a positive drug test. Let the parents and doctors make those decisions for the kids. The rest of what I'm going to say are my thoughts. Where's this coming from? What is prompting it? What's the purpose of the drug testing? With whom would that information be shared? Will it be stored? How and where will it be stored? Who's going to have access to it? How will it be used? Is it going to be used to help the kids, or is it going to be used to punish or ostracize the kids? There's a lot of potential lifelong impacts for a kid that has a positive test. I can't say that enough. And I so strongly feel that it is not the job of the district. Maybe you would let a parent know if you're concerned, but why would we, the district, test that child? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are moving into our minute approval. There are 4 sets of minutes for your consideration this evening. We have the April 8th regular board meeting, the April 8th executive session, April 22nd special board meeting executive session, and the April 27th reorganization meeting. Mrs. Voigt.
I move to approve all 4 sets of minutes as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Brooks. Anything else on the minutes? All right, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Betty Koenig?
Aye.
Natalie Gren?
Aye.
Eric Brooks?
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher?
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia?
Aye.
Thomas Harlan?
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski?
Aye.
Diane Voigt?
Aye.
Kelly Piasek?
Aye, passes 9-0. We'll move on to the WEF report. Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you, Madam President. The Waukesha Education Foundation Board of Directors met on Thursday, May 7th. Winners of the WEF scholarships will be announced at each of the high school scholarship events in May. South will occur on 5/14, North on 5/21, and West on 5/28. Some numbers for 2026. We gave out 63 scholarships and awards across all 3 high schools and 4 awards to middle school band students. These awards totaled $52,925, a new record. We have 2 scholarships in the works for next year and 1 revised scholarship, which will add another $2,500. Congrats to all of our winners. Our 2026 grant cycle is open and will remain open until September 14th. Just a reminder that our Partners in Education event, typically held in June, has been paused for this year due to declining participation as we take time to reimagine the event. And finally, our 20th annual golf outing will be held on August 6th and is sold out for golf, with 2 groups we hope to accommodate on the wait list. We still have event sponsorships available and appreciate any referrals. Available sponsorships are also listed on our event site, which is wefgolf26.givesmart.com. Questions can be directed to Lynette at extension 1143 or by email. Madam President, that concludes my WEF report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Koenig. All right, we will move next to the Optimizing Our Future Long-Range Planning Implementation Update.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Piasek. We're grateful for the opportunity to provide this monthly update to you as we keep planning and moving forward toward September of 2026. So as we walk through the slides, you remember we give you a monthly update. We will go quickly through these previous months, but if you remember back to January, that was essentially a month of waiting as we were waiting for the intra-district enrollment process to complete at the end of the month. When we moved to February, that was when the statewide open enrollment period began, and we began to take action on the intra-district open enrollment process. We finalized teacher retirements and 4K enrollment in February. As we moved to March, That was when we were able to proudly report that we were able to deliver on our Priority 1 and Priority 2 requests and fill 100% of those. We began summer school enrollment, and we kept working with First Student on transportation options for 26-27. And in April, we focused primarily on streamlining the packing and moving process for staff that will take place over the summer with our talented buildings and grounds staff who has a great deal of experience on that front. So that is, I'm missing a sheet here, excuse me. So that is where we are through slide 5. And then as we get to slide 6, we are in April, and so we are talking about there we were talking about our focus on the budget. We had our staffing decisions continually ongoing, which that continues into this month. And we were ultimately then statewide open enrollment closed. And as we got to May, and we are in May, we are now in the process of analyzing the across the state open enrollment period. The staffing decisions continue. We'll talk more about those. We're hiring for summer school and any open positions we have for the 26-27 school year here shortly, and revising that moving plan and sharing information with staff. And we'll have another slide where we're talking more about gathering interest for additional busing for STEM families. And that is actually the next slide that we have. So when we talk about that, we did a survey of all STEM families. We had 147 responses to that survey. We picked 2 bus stop locations for pickups based on where students live currently that attend STEM. The first one being Bethesda and the second one being Saratoga. The bus would then pick up at those 2 spots and move to Horning, and then on the way back, stop at Saratoga and Bethesda, and we had the estimated times. So Mr. Pat is going through all of those responses, and now we'll be sending out a survey to solidify interest in STEM busing at those 2 locations and be able to report more to you on that next month. So with that being said, we're going to go to slide 8. And our focus tonight in slide 8 and slide 9 is going to be to show you the student supports that we're putting into place and that we talked about throughout the process, ways that we could enhance the student experience with a smaller footprint. And to do that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Pat to take slide 8, and then Ms. Genderman and Mr. Pat will take the following slide.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert. Looking at our student services support throughout the district, so as we have combined schools and taking a look at our staffing, currently this year we actually, so I'll start with social workers. Currently this year we actually have 4 schools that do not have a social worker that is in the building, so they are on consult. So they would have to be called and come from a different building to be present within the building. Obviously doesn't have a chance to know maybe students as well, isn't as visible. And so we are grateful that each building will now have a dedicated social worker for a period of time. So our social workers are not always full-time at buildings. It is based on different needs for our schools and student populations as well. But every building will have social worker time face-to-face, and that has not happened before. This year, school counselors. Elementary school counselors, we have 2 full-time elementary school counselors that go between all the buildings currently, and they do a great job with some of our Tier 1 preemptive social-emotional learning and support students and staffs in those buildings accordingly. Our elementary counselor footprint hasn't changed, but we have less buildings, so now they are more time in more buildings. And once again, we understand the merger of specific buildings, and we're able to customize some of the counselor time to provide more resources to those buildings. So we have more adults and tailoring it to our different populations once again. And so we're excited for our counselors to have more time in buildings. Additionally, we increased the counseling amount at Les Paul. They had 1.5 counselors. With an increase in population, they will now have 2 full-time counselors. And Butler will continue to have 2 full-time counselors. And East High School has never had any counseling services before. And so we're excited that we can provide them with 1 day of a counselor, which will help them with their smaller student population. But you heard from our students tonight, their dreams and aspirations, and to have somebody in the building to support what that might look like for our East students is exciting. School psychologists, currently each of our buildings have a school psychologist. We do have 2 psychologists that share bilingual duties within our school district that will go to 1 person full-time. And that's a good change for a consistent person throughout the district to go to for our families, our bilingual families. Deans, we have increased the number of deans in the district. We've gone from 7 to 8, and we have assigned them to schools based on enrollment and other student demographics. So we will have more support with deans with less buildings. So we are seeing the impact in Lowell this year with a dean and the behavior impact that we have seen based on their data, and so we'll continue to support our students and our schools with the addition of more deans and more buildings. School resource officers, we will maintain the same number of school resource officers. Horning obviously will not have a school resource officer, but that officer will remain at STEM for part of the week, and then they will actually be at East as well. East has never had a school resource officer in the building. They've always had, again, like a consult where generally the Les Paul or South SRO would come over when needed at East. And additionally, that individual will serve as a fill-in for some of our SROs potentially if needed. So it's a value add to the system to ensure that we have coverage within our other buildings for school resource officers.
Next up, I want to just provide additional pieces that we're bringing forward with our K-12 English as a second language staff. So these educators work throughout the district currently, and after we have analyzed our staffing model and teacher-student ratios, we are adding 1.0 FTE of a English as a second language teacher for our district. In addition, as Melissa Yao and some of the representatives earlier talked about the impact of coaching, right now for this year, the middle schools have 1.5 coach, and so 1 person is split currently between Butler and Horning. As we move forward for next year, we will have 2 instructional coaches at each middle school to really support those high leverage instructional practices within that Tier 1 and curriculum resources, as well as AVID strategies in professional development.
Behavior coordinators. So we are looking to support the system through having 2 behavior coordinators, one that is K-5 and one that is 612. Our district is seeing some fantastic gains academically, and the support that is happening within our buildings with our coaches internally, with obviously our principals and how well they're trained, the coordinators at the district level, all the programs that are implemented, those resources are well used in the program, and that's happening academically is fantastic. Behavior-wise, we don't have those same resources and that same focus, and this, the hiring of these 2 coordinators is an outstanding opportunity for our district to really take the next step in implementing good behavior systems. Similar to our academics, behavior is something that needs to be taught, reinforced, continually modeled. It has to have essential standards that are followed. It needs to have individuals in the buildings to follow that system with fidelity to ensure that kids aren't being left behind. And currently, for our behavior focus, we have a limited number of individuals who can implement those programs with fidelity. So we're excited for these coordinators to support our deans who are in our elementary buildings, our principals, and at our secondary buildings as well, to implement our school-wide system for behavior support. So that is something that we were able to put into play for next school year. And once again, focusing on some of our buildings that will be coming together with a multitude of students for support. A DISPRO coordinator. We are a district who is identified as disproportionate in the area of OHI referrals for special education. We have seen success with specific schools who have systems for disproportionality where they have reduced the number of referrals for students in OHI while these students are still having successes through that process. And we're excited to bring an individual who actually has that process within our district and to have that process move to our other schools. So the district coordinator will be somebody who will work closely with our student services teams at each of our buildings to work on specific students to ensure, once again, they're getting what they need to have success academically and behaviorally, as we disproportionately have too many students identified for special education and other health impairment, and we have work to do on that, and that district coordinator will be key for that. And then special education staffing, we have reduced the total number of special education students at the elementary level, but we have maintained the level of staffing we had last year for a less population of students this year, to ensure that we have the supports needed with, once again, schools merging, students going to different places that have unique needs, that we can continue to support and to make sure we have that support in place in our buildings.
As we go to looking at our current average class size projections for next year, on the left, throughout the process, we talked about how while our right sizing of the district has been taking place for years, right, and we've right sized the number of teachers and sections that we have, we've always been able to maintain a relatively consistent average class size. What we can show for next year is that we are projecting an average class size in the elementary schools of 20.7, which is an overall improvement from what we've been able to do in the past, and shows that ultimately our work to right-size the district is appropriate and warranted, and we can still have class sizes that are very, very solid. And then we just wanted to show you a look at middle school enrollment. That continues to shift a little bit and probably will continue to shift as we have more interest in STEM busing, right? There might be families that decide they don't want to go to traditional middle school if they can get the busing, or it could be vice versa. We're waiting to see, but right now it's shifting a little bit from what we showed you last month. So Butler, 99.6, so we just rounded up to 100% with 922 students. And Les Paul at 786 is at 95%. Our K-8 STEM remains the same. 640 students is our projection there, which at their 840 student cap within their charter puts them at 76%. And you might remember that Horning has an overall capacity of 925, so we do have the ability to grow that program going forward. And then we didn't put average middle school class size in there because it's hard to calculate. Because of the different classes that they have. They have their core classes, but then they have their encore classes, and gym classes are bigger than other classes. So if we can narrow that down as we get closer, we'd be happy to share it. We just, it's much easier in elementary when we're looking at sections of students. And then our final slide to this month is our next steps. And actually those are the exact same next steps that we shared with you last month. And so that same work continues. It's really a lot around working with the principals to ensure they have the support and resources that they need as we bring schools together. It's continuing. Sharon and Marge in the Human Resources Department have done just an amazing job with staffing decisions for all employee groups. And so we'll actually be in a position to communicate teacher assignments tomorrow. And then by the end of the month, we'll be in a position to communicate all of the various support staff employment positions for next year. So by the end of May, we will have that complete. And then we continue to work with communicating plans regarding packing and moving. And actually, Mr. Clark and Mr. McCarthy are working with Mr. Yearling, who will be our incoming Chief Information Officer, to create the technology platform that will allow us to monitor that process, and we'll be able to share that with you so you can see the progress that we're making as we're boxing and then moving and making sure that we're staying on track, particularly in some of the schools where we're bringing people from various buildings to a particular building. It's a little more complex than what we've done in the past in terms of just merging two schools. But they do have great experience with that, and we're confident we can be successful. So with that being said, that is the end of our formal presentation, but we are certainly open to questions that you have. Well, we can try to answer them as best we can, and we feel really good about the progress that we're making as we approach the end of this school year and then get ready for September of 2026.
Okay, I'm seeing some questions. Mrs. Voigt and then Mrs. Kozlowski.
As we were talking about the student supports, it seems that there are several new positions that are being added in terms of the, some of the different new titles like the DISPRO coordinator, et cetera. How many new people are going to be hired for student support with, for the next school year?
So the three positions that I talked about were the K-5 behavior coordinator, and then the 6-12 behavior coordinator, and then the disproportionality or the DISPRO coordinator. So 3 individuals. Yep.
Mrs. Kozlowski, okay. Mr. Harlan.
So it sounds like we have made a lot of good work on supporting each of the schools with social workers, obviously trying to reduce some travel for some of the support staff. I mean, could you also speak to some of the other more specific teacher roles, be it gym, art, that may have traveled previously? Are we still having the same number of traveling roles? Maybe that's, sorry, should be directed this way, sorry.
I would have to look to get an exact number. I do know that we have reduced travel definitely at the elementary, and the middle and high. So it has been a reduction with the combination of schools, but I don't have the exact number right now.
And then the bilingual, and I didn't catch the last piece of it, bilingual role moving from 2 down to 1. I guess kind of what was used to make that decision on going down from 2 coordinators to 1?
Yeah, maybe I misspoke on how I used education speak. So the position is a 1 full-time position. Currently, it's shared by 2 people half-time.
Understood.
Now it'll be 1 person full-time. So we just put 1 person full-time as a school psych without the duties of bilingual psych, and then 1 person full-time bilingual psychologist. So it was no reduction, but a specific change to have 1 face for our families district-wide.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. Gallagher.
Could you talk more about the behavior coordinators specifically? I'm curious, you kind of mentioned some essential standards to follow as well as placing structures. Can you just talk more about what that looks like and what those structures are meant to look like in the end?
Yeah, so currently we have work happening at the district level, which you hear the terms EMLSS or MTSS, which is really a tiered system of support for our students. So similar with their academics. Tier 1 behavior is everyday classroom behavior for our students, and we need to make sure that we have very specific components to what we expect them to do in our classrooms at every school. So the experience for students needs to be the same at every elementary, for kindergarten, for 1st grade, for 2nd grade within our classrooms at the Tier 1 level. And then we get into the Tier 2 level where our students who may be in the classroom, those supports are not working so well. We then need to have, generally it will fall into specific curriculum and specific areas where they might need behavior support. So if it's an area of, let's say that they have their hands on other kids quite often, right? They're always touching and it's not appropriate for a certain time. They might have, through the Tier 1 process, gone to Tier 2. They're still going to be in the classroom every day, getting that essential standard focus, being reinforced with what proper behavior is, but they might be meeting with a school counselor and a group of students and going through some role-playing or specific social stories that talk about why we do and what we don't do to provide that additional support for a certain amount of time. We need that support to be tracked and that data to be gathered on how they're progressing in their behavior. And then we need to do that for a time, and if it's not working, then they might move to a Tier 3 component where maybe it's a student who we need to dive further into. It sounds simplistic when I say it. To get our entire system aligned within all of our schools, between all of our principals, all of our student support staff is monumental. Heard through our Act 20 data and presentations the success of that, and we are trying to replicate that in the behavior side. So we're consistent. We have very clear benchmarks of step 1, step 2, step 3, and that we're gathering accurate data. We're progress monitoring that, and we're putting things in place to help it get better, and then we're constantly doing that in our system. So those coordinators will take that to our buildings and be professionally developing our staff and supporting that work within our buildings.
Just one other question on class sizes. 20.7 is obviously a great number. Are there any outliers that you can see at a lower level? I guess specifically with Lowell in mind, with seeing that 104% number, are there any like lower level outliers you can think of or know of?
So did you say specifically at Lowell? Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so I'm just curious if there's any outliers on that 20.7 where you're starting to encroach more on that 30-ish number per class, specifically with Lowell because you see the number 104%, you know, uncomfortable, but.
Lowell's average for Lowell particularly, K through 5 is 21. And right now, the highest outlier is 28, but not at a K1-2. So I don't know if you're referencing the lower grades.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Mrs. Gren. Thank you, administration team, for your continued work on this implementation process. Just kind of piggybacking off of capacity numbers right now, Dr. Siebert, or who maybe Sharon can answer this, but do you know when you might have a better idea of the middle school capacity?
You mean class size?
Correct, yes. That, I mean, the principals would know as they're doing their sections, we just don't have it reported out like that. But if you have a specific question, we could get some data for you. So I think that is my question, is the class size. So we're averaging about 21 students for elementary. Just kind of wondering as far as what that overall capacity is for middle school, because I know it's going to be a question that we're asked. Yep, I mean, we can see, depending on, let's say, I don't know how many classes run per hour, I'll just say 40 for a round number, divided by that, then times each hour of the day. I mean, that's how we could calculate it, so we could get some information for you, but it would be it would be an average. Yep. And that's fine. Okay. Yeah. I think if we just have that. Absolutely. That'll make some people happier. Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it. I have kind of a follow-on to that, if I could. I think I understand what you're asking, and it might help to look at it a little differently. So assuming that we're still working with the house model with the middle schools?
I would say give or take, that would be
Yeah.
more of a general question.
Okay, the response was it depends on how many students. So I guess what I was thinking is there's kind of a home base for most students, not homeroom, but the house models had kind of a home base, and there were multiple teachers within those houses, and that might help, because I know the grouping isn't necessarily like, this is your classroom and this is your primary teacher. I understand that things like band and gym and certain electives might have larger, because it just supports having more students in the classroom, but whatever that primary place is for those students, I think that would be, for me, a helpful reference on like, what does that look like? Whether that's the start of the day or whether that's I know when we changed to the block schedule, now there's kind of this homeroom portion of that too. So, or maybe something related to some of the student-teacher ratios with those primary subjects. I know the electives are difficult, because I understand that you can't do it on average and have it be meaningful unless we're looking at a specific scenario, but, thank you.
More like a core.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? I greatly appreciated Mr. McCarthy coming in and talking about the moving side of things, so I think we'll just be all kind of paying attention to that and eager to see how that goes. Any final thoughts? And one more from Mr. Harland.
So, kind of going back to the very start with the STEM busing, 147 responses. Understand you're still figuring out the exact numbers. responses being affirmative, yes, I want transportation, or just, I guess, can you kind of clarify that?
Yeah, so the initial one was just to see an interest in the two stops and the times to see how many people would be interested. And so we left it open-ended. There was a question at the bottom that said, please provide us your feedback. So we had individuals that answered the questions that they would utilize the busing, but then in the comments said, would you add other stops and different things? So we gathered feedback from that for consideration, but it wasn't a final, this many individuals would ride or wouldn't ride, and that's what Dr. Siebert referenced, that we're currently looking at a final survey to send out based on some of the feedback we got in parameters to say, will you or won't you? And so that's what we're working on. So it was preliminary.
Some people did say they're not interested in the survey too, so it's not.
That number is included in that 147?
Yes, yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
Just dovetailing off the busing question, so did you say that you have the estimated route times for those, or are you waiting to get those?
We have those,
Okay.
and they were in the survey, so
Okay.
people could see what they are.
What are those, just curious?
Mr. Pat would know those better than I would. It was in the survey, maybe.
It was in the survey, 705, 725. Let me bring it up to get the form specifically. There was a couple numbers rolling around in my head, so please bear with me as I open it up. So first pickup would be at Bethesda at 7:05, and drop off after school would be 3:20. Second pickup would be at Saratoga, and that would be at 7:15, and drop off after school would be 3:10. So those are the pickup times, and then the arrival to school time would be obviously before the start of the day at 7:40.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything else at this time, so thank you all for the updates. Appreciate it. All right, we still have a lot of business to cover tonight, so I am going to keep going. There are two special topics that we've added to the agenda tonight that I requested, and both, I'm just going to kind of introduce both. Both are resolutions of the board. I want to give a little bit of background for those maybe less familiar. A resolution is a formal action or statement adopted by a governing body to express a position or intent, interpretation, or direction on a matter that's within our authority. Boards of education commonly use resolutions to clarify governance expectations, reaffirm principles, modify processes as allowed by the law, establish a direction, or respond to emerging issues. For a resolution to become the position of the board, it requires an action by a majority vote. Like any other action would. It does not necessarily expire, but it is good governance to ensure that those resolutions that the board adopts do still represent the will and intent of the board. And so the two things that are on the agenda tonight for discussion and possible action, first is the parental rights and transparency resolution, and we'll address that first and then come back to the second one. So the parental rights and transparency resolution was approved by unanimous vote in January of 2023. However, since that time, the board membership has changed significantly, and only 3 members who participated in that initial vote remain on the board today. Because of that, I thought it was reasonable and appropriate to revisit the resolution so that the current board has an opportunity to discuss where members stand on that topic today, whether the board continues to support the principles reflected in the resolution, and whether any revisions or clarifications or updates should be considered. For my own bias, there is a typo in it, which has been driving me crazy for 3 years, so I'd really like to fix that. Aside from that, as I said earlier, it's not unusual to periodically revisit resolutions or such positions. So tonight's discussion is really just intended to provide that opportunity. And if we want to discuss it, if we want to take action on it, we would have that opportunity as well. So I would just open the floor for board discussion, questions, potential changes, or feedback? Mrs. Voigt.
I was pleased to see that this was a topic on the agenda, knowing that there were two things that had come to my attention recently that very much fit under the parental rights and transparency topic. One, a petition that was started in April that's entitled Allow High School Transgender Athletes to Play Under WIA Policies. And I immediately wondered, the policies that are listed in here look like they have a reference date of 2018. Would want to take a look and see if any of those have been updated to make sure that we are in compliance with the WIAA kind of, current policy statements that way. So having this up for discussion, perfectly timed in that respect. The second part, the transparency part, a Horning parent sent an email on May 5th about concerns related to transparency regarding the events surrounding the adoption of Plan E1 at the November 12th board meeting. The documentation within that email talked about the public not receiving adequate notice regarding Horning being identified as the K-8 STEM new location. And it identifies the fact that the intent of Wisconsin's open meeting laws is designed to ensure transparency, inform public participation in decision-making and accountability. So again, those two communication pieces would say that it's probably time to take a look at those topics.
Mrs. Kozlowski.
Yeah, I think that when we crafted this initial policy, a lot of the intent and the goal was really to make sure that as a board, we came together and understood what the role of a school district is, ensuring that parents have the ultimate say over their child's education, also the protection of all of the students. And so just to highlight a couple of the points Mrs. Voigt brought up, it is the belief under this parental rights resolution that the board at that time, still my belief today, that we have students play in respective sports and activities that follow their biological sex, period. And my intent on that hasn't changed. And in fact, I will offer two recommendations that at this point I would actually like to see removed from the policy. But I do want to highlight the second point that Mrs. Voigt brought up regarding the transparency regarding E1. There was a live stream workshop where this was talked about. It was admitted, in fact, by Mrs. Voigt, that we indeed did talk about moving Horning. And I also want to reflect that the entire process of transparency regarding OOF was a work in progress moving session. And if you look across the boards, at one point, I think even Mr. Brooks had brought up the number of school districts across the state that have not sought any community feedback. We did an overabundance of communicating, and at that workshop, the board asked the administration to take a look at options under E, which is how we got to E1 and E2. So the fact that there's some declaration of non-transparency is quite honestly just ridiculous. So while I understand the parental rights, I'm not sure where we commit to be as open and honest, and all of these sessions, there was nothing that was done outside of open records at all. So I think to get back to the resolution, there are 2 points that I would actually like to see stricken under 4B and 4C. In 4B, I would like to strike everything after the first sentence. So essentially it would end with, students will use shared bathroom and locker room facilities according to their biological sex, period. And in C, students will participate in athletic programs consistent with their biological sex, period. Strike the rest. I don't know if we're I think we're still too hard into discussion right now for me to do a formal motion, but I would be looking at some point to put that formally.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. I do have some limited red line that is the same that I can share with everybody. That might be something that we could work off of that addresses a couple of those typos that I mentioned, but also that point that you brought up, Mrs. Kozlowski. So I want to give others an opportunity to speak as well, but I can respond to that too. Are there any others with pressing questions or points right now? Mrs. Koenig.
Just a clarification. Again, I know I was not a part of the initial, conversation and passing. When I, to what Mrs. Boyd had mentioned, when I read the transparency, number one, I guess I always understood this to mean academic and curricular transparency and what is being taught in schools. Did I miss something? That the transparency extends beyond, what our role is here is to provide an education. I'm a little confused. Was there something in here that Mrs. White was referencing that where we weren't transparent? According to number one, because it says curricular appropriateness and transparency, I always thought, when I thought of transparency, that's where my mind went, was what we are teaching, the curriculum we're using, a parent's right to see those things. So I guess I'm just wondering, did I miss something and when this was crafted, that was an expectation? That the transparency would extend, into other areas, or was it more, we're focused on educating children and transparency within our schools and our curriculums?
From my perspective, when we initially talked about this, and I think everybody knows that I drafted this, was focused on parents having an understanding of what is happening from a curricular and school day experience for their students. I think maybe to Mrs. Voigt's point, there is a statement in the resolution that parents have the right to be fully informed of their children's educational experience. And I still believe that is true. I do believe that the entire optimizing process was done with the greatest intent for transparency, and that at later points in the process, there were a number of parents, not just Horning parents, who were unaware of even some of the public conversations that we had been having for about a 9-month period. So we cannot force people to pay attention to the work that we're doing. But I do believe that every discussion and decision that we made was made in a properly posted public meeting where members of the public had access. So aside from that, I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I do believe that parents have a right to be fully informed of their children's educational experience, as well as being informed of decisions made with respect to where their children may be attending school. I guess I take some limited issue with the argument that that was not done, or that it was deliberately done not in an open meeting, because I know that is not true. So
I'm not making any judgment call one way or the other. I'm just saying those two communications that happened around the same time that this is being reviewed. I think the timing is good for us to incorporate those thoughts into the mix as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I want to go back to what Mrs. Kozlowski said and to what Mrs. Voigt said. So I do agree with Mrs. Voigt that the WIAA policy that's referenced in item 8 is out of date. With that, I also agree with what Mrs. Kozlowski said or proposed, in that I don't believe that it is our responsibility to comply per se. We are members of the WIAA, and so the WIAA establishes policies that govern how students participate in athletics and what they expect from us. but we are not obligated to meet their standards per se. We have choices about whether or not we want to participate in that capacity. And so I think it actually is confusing by referencing that. And so I would support the recommendation. In fact, that would be in my red line copy is the recommendation to remove the items, the text in item C, in item 4C, after the word sex. I further would support, I think for consistency, removing the language after the first sentence in item 4B, also because it is redundant. The text that is there now says that students will use shared bathroom and locker room facilities according to their biological sex. It does not preclude the administration from implementing an alternative plan that may use single-use restrooms for students that would otherwise request them. So I feel like, to Mrs. Kozlowski's point, the text after the first sentence in 4B could be eliminated, and the text after the first line, beginning with "and" in 4C, could be eliminated. So before it gets too confusing, it might be best to, so this is the exact resolution that you were provided. I just have some red line recommendations that also attempt to address the language that's in the back. Because I don't know if anybody knows who represents what district anymore. So I thought we could simplify that. And maybe I can just walk you through what I have there. So there were no changes that I noted to page 1. There is a "the" that was missing on page 2. There was an "ing" that was missing on page 2. And there is a proposed just "are not" instead of "will not be." And then if you look to page 3, and I'll go from the bottom up, I struck the WIAA reference. I cleaned up the date, and that there was no value in having that one phrase there. And then I modified the representative language by just replacing it with state and federal elected officials representing district constituents. And so you'll see the red line that I thought made sense on 4C, and then I would further support striking what, are there any extra copies? I can give mine to Dr. Siebert if there's not. Somebody might have actually gotten mine with a line through it. Striking what Mrs. Kozlowski had suggested. But we're still in discussion. So these are some ideas, and I know Sue's looking at me like she wants to have it. There's a couple left. No, I think it's okay. I have an extra one here too if anybody needs it. We do not have to take action on this, but when we're not in an active motion at this point, so there's more room for discussion. Mr. Zenobia.
Thank you. So, as one of the members that kind of not only sat through this resolution, but really led up to it, I think our discussion in March of '23 was similar to what we have to some effect tonight, focusing on those latter parts. However, the resolution itself was really a culmination of a lot of topics that the board discussed and took up really from, April of '21 right through March of 2023. Probably one of the first biggest questions that the board faced was, our library materials. And part of the transparency discussion that we had was, letting parents know what their kids are not only reading in classrooms, but what they have access to in our libraries. This led us on discussions about what was being taught in, curated curriculums in our classrooms, what the controversial issue policies spoke to. There were probably 5 or 6 big issues and topics that were discussed that all came down to parents needed to have more transparency and more access to what was going on in their child's classrooms when they asked for it. And I think, you know, perhaps the change from the old guard to the new guard, if you will, that was not the practice of the older, of boards in past time. And so this resolution came at a time when a lot of these issues had already been hard fought and established, and this was not only to affirm to the community and to our parents and students, but also to our administration what the expectation of the board was. And I think it's been implemented and taken to heart very well. I think it's been a great guide and served whoever wants to take a look at it of how the board is trying to conduct the business of this district. So it's been very helpful there. I would support the amendments that have been made to this point. I think it does need updating, but I do think it's a very important document that people can look at, certainly parents can look at and understand that they do have a right to be able to look into their child's education and be given good, timely answers when they have real questions about what is being taught to their kids. So, thank you.
Mrs. Voigt.
Because this is such a big topic, it could take a lot of time for discussion, knowing that it's already 8:47. I was wondering if this might be something that would be a topic at the board workshop and work through the resolution, discussion there, and then be able to present it, for a formal vote after that workshop kind of activity.
I think if the board collectively feels that more work is needed, that would be appropriate, yeah. I do not, just to be clear, feel that more work is needed, but I would defer to what the rest of you would like to do.
No, I mean, I'm glad that we're bringing this back up as someone who didn't have an opportunity to vote on it the first time through. I think the changes that have been suggested have been good. I was meticulously going through all of the different new districts as you were speaking about that, and then you made it way simpler by making sure that we don't have to do that every single time there's an election cycle or new maps. So I think that's a good change. It's on the agenda today for the opportunity to speak and discuss and debate. I don't think we need a full workshop to discuss something that's been thoroughly vetted before. I think this is an opportunity for new board members who haven't had the chance to vote on this to voice their opinion, because we have had a lot of new faces on the board. But I would be in support of these changes, but I'll before motioning anything, allow others to continue discussion.
Mrs. Kozlowski.
I'm going to motion to approve the amendments as presented to us this evening with one additional change in 4B to eliminate the last section of that outside of the first sentence ending with biological sex.
Second.
So that is the red line version. Also striking all text after the first sentence in 4B. That would be an active motion. So at this point, we have this particular document that's been advanced. So we could entertain discussion or amendments to it.
My only comment was item number 9. We state student physical safety is a district priority. It's a priority, but it's listed number 9. I don't know if it needs to be moved up to emphasize that physical safety should be one of the primary.
What number would you like it to be, Mr.
I
Harland?
don't know. I'm not sure the exact number. 4th from the bottom doesn't seem right for a listed item for priority.
How about number 3?
Sounds fantastic.
So would you like to,
So motion to amend the motion to move item number 9 up to the position number 3.
I'll second that.
Robert's rules.
It's testing you.
okay, so since there is an active motion on the table, we could discuss, we could amend that. I guess what I'm just going to ask, since it's there, is are there any other numbers that are bothering anybody that we could, I totally agree with you, but should we, is there anything else that was, Mrs. White?
Number 5, I feel that all students should feel welcome at school, regardless of their religious beliefs, race, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. And I believe that some of the statements that are made here don't let all students feel welcome.
Okay. Is there anything else about the amendment that's on the floor? Mr. Gallagher?
I guess I just have a couple clarifications, and maybe it's just because I don't know yet. I guess particularly, let's start with the student privacy and safety. Protected from accessing material that is not directly linked to learning and may be deemed inappropriate. I'm just curious if are there cases that that's happened up to this point? And how?
Yeah.
I guess, does there need to be language to kind of have a more strong response to something like that?
Can I ask you to hold that thought for 1 second?
Sure.
Because we have the amendment to move the item.
Yep.
So if there's anything else related to moving that item, and then I think you're asking a good question, we can come back to that. So is there anything else about just rearranging the order? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger, would you just, well, I don't know, are you following? There's an amendment on the document that was proposed.
The amendment from Mr. Harlan?
Yep, just to move,
And to move item number 9 to item number 3.
yes,
So then we're going to take a vote on
yes,
that.
please.
Okay. All right. Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye. That passes 9-0. So now we'll come back to Mr. Gallagher's question.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just curious. When that comes up, do we need to have some sort of stronger language to put into place what happens, or how we're safeguarding against that from happening?
Can you remind me which
Yeah.
area you're looking at?
The student privacy and safety, section 2, protected from accessing material that is not directly linked to learning or may be deemed inappropriate.
Dr. Siebert, do you, I know we've done a lot, you and Mrs. Gennerman, on materials and the library responses, so I don't know if you want to take that?
Yeah, Mr. Gallagher, we've done a ton in the libraries. We have a process by which we vet books before we bring them into the library. This, I think, was referring more to technology.
Correct.
And we have done some significant upgrades in terms of our, what are those called, Ms. Gunnerman? The app approvals, but then also the filtering software.
Yeah, the different filtering software that we use that really blocks access to certain things. And then also, we've put in place an app approval process. So initially, when the iPads were new and apps were new, everyone's like downloading everything. So we've put in place an app approval process. It also, that part of that process is safeguarding our student data so that it's not being sold to third companies and that sort of thing. And then with the library, like Dr. Seward said, we have a lot of things in place as far as our process to review information. From another privacy and student safety aspect, and just being transparent, our curriculum resources are available to view for families at any time, and they have access to that through Blackboard and other resources. So we try and just provide all the information to families.
So, Mr. Gallagher, if I understand your question maybe a little more clearly, and perhaps we can look at the resolution, then we can look at what we need to do about that. If you're talking about the being protected from accessing materials not directly linked to learning goals or that may be deemed inappropriate or harmful to minors. So there's work that's been done in prior years on what students have access to at different grade levels. But I think to your point, there are things that our high school students can use their iPads to do that allow them to go to Google or allow them to go to YouTube. And I think there are restrictions on some of that, YouTube and Spotify and other things. And there are certain apps that they can't use on their district iPads. But there may be some that allow them to access materials maybe in the course of a course. And I would have the same concerns that I think I'm hearing you raise in that how do we ensure that those devices are being used for academic reasons? And I think that might be worth having that conversation because a lot of things have been cleaned up and we went through a pretty rigorous app reduction process. And so students can't just download the things that they want. And we took away some apps that were very popular that made some people really unhappy because they couldn't be controlled the way we wanted to. But I think to your point, that if within this resolution we're saying this is important to us, then I think we need to have those conversations about what we're doing to control the access of that. Because I think I'm understanding your question that there may still be some things that we aren't controlling appropriately.
Yeah, correct. I don't have an issue with the way it's worded. I just think maybe just for myself, I need some clarification on everything that surrounds the technology part of that.
Yeah.
I did have one other question. In regards to deeply held family values, there's a line that says parents' right to opt their child, out of allowable lessons or curriculum. Is there a definition of allowable? I assume there is, I just don't know what it is.
So there are some things that are required. Well, I'm actually going to let the administration address that as well. But there are some things that are required as part of learning standard, and there are other things, most things, I think, that could be opted out of. But how do we make those determinations?
I think it depends on what it is and what the grade is. So, for example, I'm just thinking right now of our direct admit. Our approach is to support students in their ongoing learning to any post-secondary learning. And so with our connection with the UW schools, all families are naturally, our student results are naturally shared and have a direct admit, but families have an opportunity to opt out prior to that happening. So it really just depends on what it is and what the student is. That's just one example where families do have the opt-out option prior to.
Well, and I have a very tangible example, and that is when we do either the Start College Now or the dual enrollment, if we send a student to take a class at UW or Marquette, we don't have control over what's happening in that curriculum. And so if a student is dissatisfied, that's not something that the district can say, you do or do not have to do that. So those are cases where a parent may disagree what a professor is presenting in a class that the district has allowed the student to take, but we're not controlling that curriculum. I think AP is another one that we talk a lot about the AP standards, and we want the students to do well on those exams, but there may be things in particular in the literature and some of the social and other social sciences and things that may not align. And of course, those are electives, so those are options as well. But I think the intent there was if it's not required as part of the graduation requirement or as part of the legal standards. Mrs. Kozlowski.
Yeah, and I want to add to that, so there are a couple different things that will happen in a normal course of education, right? So a lot of what we've done and built is going to be the syllabus. So we are putting out in advance for parents to review, here's a list of the topics we're covering, here's a list of books that your child could pick to read. And it gives the parent an opportunity to say, we don't agree with this, and I don't want my child reading that. And we actually do have that happen frequently. So I think there are a lot of the steps and boundaries we've put in to address that, but we've made it so that the curriculum. You can access what we're teaching, the topics that we're teaching, the books that are going to be read, and if there's anything that is opposed, the parent has the right to say, I don't want my child to read this.
Mrs. Gren?
So I, kind of on that same line of things, and I've read through this so many times, and I'm not seeing anything, but I'm not sure if it's necessarily needed, but in my eyes, it might be something that is stating that students, should not be penalized academically for expressing or respectfully expressing viewpoints on political, religious, or social issues. Something that sort of ties into number 6. I just know that there are students that sometimes feel that way, and it might be just a good thing to add under those numbers. I know we're moving numbers, maybe we should add one.
It's a new amendment,
Okay. So,
I mean, yeah, so we have this draft with 9 becoming 3.
yeah.
I like what you're saying. I think there could be a modification to item 6. And I think, Mrs. Voigt made a point earlier, like, if we need too much time to revise things, we could step aside with it. But I think this might be an easy one.
So,
Does anyone have a recommendation of language? Mr.
Yeah.
Brooks?
I guess I just have a question. I don't disagree with the spirit of it. I think being able to respect viewpoint diversity, especially from an academic perspective, making sure that students aren't being penalized for their personal views or their family views is important. I guess from an enforceability standpoint, how will we be able to prove that that's happening in a certain situation? I don't necessarily know that there's a correct answer to that, or if it's something that we're already doing, but that would be my only kind of pause on adding that, is because I think it's valuable, but I don't necessarily know how we're screening for that or enforcing that, and making, if we're going to add something to it, I think it should be enforceable.
If there's a recommendation, we could take it. I mean, I hear your point, and I think a lot of this is, again, the philosophy of the board that then we've asked the administration to represent through policy and practice.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do hear that. I think it is probably a good amendment to make right now for these purposes and just review it. So I'm going to make an amendment to number 6, I want to say. Motion to make an amendment to number 6, thank you. To add some verbiage regarding students not being penalized academically. I'm sorry?
You need the verbiage.
Okay. Then I wrote something quickly, so. Students shall not be penalized academically for respectfully expressing viewpoints on political, religious, or social issues.
Second.
Mrs. Kren, the 3 issues, social, religious.
Political, religious, or social issues.
Students shall not be penalized academically for respectfully expressing viewpoints on political, religious, or social issues.
That is correct, yes.
And do you have a preference on which number that is?
I think number 7.
So were you saying to add it, or just amend?
You're
I mean, I
amending
think
6.
I think we would amend 6 because I think that plays into that statement.
Is that adding it to 6?
I think it means adding it to 6, yes.
So you would
That's how
add-
I would say.
Or moral beliefs and shall not be penalized because I don't have their correct words, right? So-
Yeah, shall not be penalized academically for respectfully expressing viewpoints.
I would say the word students again, so.
Yeah,
say
students
and
again.
students shall not be penalized academically.
I think that's a separate sentence entirely, then it's just the next sentence in that number 6.
I'm going to
being
leave that to you and
amendment.
Mr. Brooks because he seconded that. But we don't have, we would add that as a separate, so do you want to, what do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Adding it on?
Yep.
So number 6 would read, "No student shall be compelled to affirm through speech, writing, or action an opinion that violates their deeply held personal, religious, or moral beliefs, and students shall not be penalized academically for respectfully expressing viewpoints on political, religious, or social issues."
Yes.
Is the new number 6. Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. I'm going to wait for our favorite board secretary. Would you take the roll call, please?
Thomas Harlan,
Aye.
Diane Voigt,
Aye.
Betty Koenig,
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia,
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher,
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski,
Aye.
Natalie Gren,
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye. Passes 9-0. All right, so we are on version 2.2.
So back to the original motion.
Yep, so we have the original redlined with striking the language after the first sentence in item B, moving item 9 up to number 3, modifying number 6, which actually will become the new number 7, to read as we just approved. Okay. Anything else? I'm not seeing any. Last chance. Mrs. Ettinger, would you please take the roll call?
Carrie Kozlowski,
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher,
Aye.
Betty Koenig,
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
May I ask for clarification what we're actually voting on? Like,
I just said, so it is the red line version with the text stricken after item B, and item 9 moved up to item 3, and item 6, which has been modified now to extend the language.
so are we talking about just making those revisions, or are we approving those?
We're approving that this document.
That we want to
With-
approve it as
which
being a
we've-
document that we want to
Correct.
use and I say no.
Okay.
Natalie Gren,
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia,
Aye.
Thomas Harlan,
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye. Passes 8-1. So as you'll note on the back of the resolution, then we will adjust the vote and the date and document accordingly, and then we can update what's on the website. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. So moving to the next item on the agenda, again, discussion and possible action. This is new, so this may require a little bit of extra time. I'll give a little bit of background to this. For this particular resolution, and I mentioned this at our reorganization meeting, over the past year, I think differing interpretations of board authority and member communications, confidentiality, and how we represent ourselves and govern ourselves have created unnecessary confusion and some public misunderstanding regarding board actions and responsibilities and whether or not people are speaking in their personal capacity or in a formal capacity or appropriately on behalf of the board. I think healthy disagreement is important. I've said that before, but I think professionalism is also important, and I think that our bylaws actually speak to that. So there's nothing in this resolution that is new in term, or intended to be new from a perspective of introducing a new bylaw. It was my intent to present what I believe is a reasonable interpretation of our existing bylaws and our governance framework, while also recognizing that board members may have different perspectives. You may also have revisions or amendments as part of discussion. If we feel that it's too much of a discussion tonight, I would certainly be happy to reconsider that as well. But if you just want to take a look at it, we could look through it together. So it starts with essentially stating what the statutory requirement, or the statutory elements are that govern our authority. Speaks to the 140 set of bylaws, which specifically addresses board member authority, board member conduct, ethics, expression. And those are all policies that have been revised, or many of those are policies that have been revised relatively recently. And then the third sentence there speaks to the governance operation. So committees, notice of meetings, how we use the agenda, how we move through topics within meetings, and what is addressed there. And so those are kind of stating the governing bylaws. And then you'll see, I try to keep this to 2 pages, you'll see 5 topics: board authority and representation, orderly governance, professionalism, proper use of office, and then confidentiality, privacy, and protection of information. I do want to point out that in the further resolved, nothing in this resolution would be proposed to be interpreted to limit the lawful right of any board member to express an individual viewpoint. And then I think what's most important for me is that enforcement of not only a resolution like this, but our bylaws in general resides with the board acting as a body corporate. And so you'll see that throughout. We do not have authority on issues unless we take action formally as a board. And so I think that's important to keep in mind. I think that my role in this capacity and our committee presiding officers are to run orderly meetings and try to keep people on topic. But I think disagreement sometimes is going to occur. So these professionalism standards to me are important, that we can hold each other accountable to that. I think we're better than some of the interpersonal dynamics that have occurred over the last year. And so I think this is an opportunity for us all to get on the same page and agree to work professionally, whether we agree or disagree, in the best interest of the district. Mrs. Kozlowski.
Yeah, thank you for putting this together. There's nothing in this document that is outside of state statutes, board bylaws, or, I mean, there's nothing here. It's an organized, well put up in here. And I think, you know, policy and governance is what we do as a board. That is what we do. And it's not an option. Abiding by all of these is our requirements. We need to do it with integrity, consistency, and respect for the roles that we have and what this board represents. And we need to uphold the policy, respect our governance, maintain professionalism, preserve appropriate boundaries between administration and staff, protect confidentiality, and accurately represent board action once decisions are made. These are things that are standard. Everyone here should understand what our role is and why it's different, and how we operate is different. The expectations are higher for us, and how we communicate with the district administration, how we communicate with staff, and quite honestly, we need to be following the chain of command and protocols and not flying all over. I think, for me personally, some of the things that I have seen over this last year, some of the things that have been shared via open records requests are very disheartening for a failure to comply with the oath and the obligation of the office that we sit in. And I think it's very fair for Dr. Piasek to put something together that we say as a board we are going to uphold, and we're going to hold each other accountable to do all of this. But I also then want to just conclude with the comment that she had on disagreement. We're not all going to agree, and healthy debate and healthy discussions are good for that. Framing that as hateful or anything other than that is a distraction to what we're doing. I expect that we would have disagreements, because disagreements are what makes us strong and what makes our policies stick, because our entire job is focused on students, staff, and our taxpayers. And our obligation is to do what is in the best interest of this district, not personal, this district. I don't have any objections to anything that is written here. I don't think it can get any more straightforward than a nice summary of all of the things that each of us are responsible to uphold. So thank you, Dr. Piasek, for this.
Mrs. White?
I appreciate the discussion, and I go back to a notion that I have that whenever you have a new idea, especially something that is as important as this, it should be something that has like a first reading, a second reading before you actually vote on it. At this point, I think the discussion is good. I would hold on possible action until people can digest this, raise concerns. This was came up for the first time in the packet on Friday, to make a final decision today just seems rushed. Again, discussion is good. I just, it's just, I guess, my background in terms of policy decisions, and whenever you have a legislative first reading, second reading before you actually vote type of thing, to be able to encourage more discussion in the process.
Are there concerns or areas that you want to address specifically?
Just time for people to think about it is my main concern. Right? The concept of having action immediately without that time to really work through the process.
Certainly an option. Mr. Zenobia?
I would probably just echo some of Ms. Kozlowski's comments. I think, as has been stated, there's nothing in the resolution that isn't in policy. To sit here and make some of the decisions that the board has to make and has made just this past year are very difficult. And there's always a temptation to want to be perhaps empathetic to certain people or groups or neighbors or whomever, just as an example of how things are being done to try to reassure in this position. But, and I understand that, and I really do. But our function here is to act as a body. And whenever we go off the reservation, which I myself have many times in my beginning of this tenure here, I often say that to sit here and to have, when you come on the board, you have an idea of how things should go. And after sitting here for a while, you understand that the responsibility that you have is much greater than the things that you don't like. And oftentimes, the way to protest that is with a no vote, and I certainly have done that on occasion. So it's a very important document. I'm not opposed to taking more time with it. When I saw it on that's probably Sunday, actually, that I read it, there was nothing in it that grabbed my attention that it should not be, there's no red flags in it for me. So I support it. I think it's very important for members to do their best. And I'm not speaking to any individual here. Please don't take it that way. But to stay in line with what our responsibilities are. So with that, I'll end my comments. So thank you.
Our bylaws already exist. I think this interpretation is important, but I don't think there's any rush in approving this. However, I thought it would be appropriate, just given that it was the beginning of a new board cycle. In the it is late. We could kind of read sentence by sentence, but for myself, having written this and sharing it with all of you on Friday, there's nothing in here that I would say, oh no, I don't agree that I should conduct myself professionally. Kind of goes without saying, you would think, but unfortunately it doesn't. So I think I think this is a good way for us to align. But if there are areas that are of concern to anyone, we could certainly talk about those. Mrs. Koenig?
Thank you. I do appreciate the time that you took to, go through the statutes and basically make it very clear, what does that look like? Like, in day-to-day existence for, functioning our rules. I certainly don't have a problem if people feel like they need more time. However, I would like to bring this forward again for our next meeting, and I would like the opportunity to have a vote on it. I mean, we have another discussion when we have more time. I would like to know if there are concerns people have. But again, like everyone that has been speaking, I'm reading every number, and I'm tying it to a state statute. And I personally don't see anything that would make me wonder, well, as a board member, wait, I can't do that. I appreciate the clarity. So, I mean, I would like to continue the conversation very soon, next month, but.
Okay. Mrs. Kozlowski?
I'm struggling on the fact there's nothing here that is not already approved state law, policy, and bylaw that none of us haven't seen. I'm going to motion to approve the resolution affirming board governance and representation as presented.
Second.
Well, I'm going to mess you up because I'm going to make an amendment. It's a tiny one, but I think that you all will agree. If you look under orderly governance on the bottom of page 1, I am checking myself. I actually would like to remove the words "and supports" because I don't think that it's a responsibility for people to support in principle the decisions that we make. I think it's important that we respect and represent those decisions accurately. So I think the more that I thought about that, I felt that the word support maybe wouldn't be necessary. So motioning to remove the word "and supports."
Second.
Second.
Multiple seconds. Mr. Brooks got there first. Mrs. Ettinger, could we do a little roll call on that? She's not very happy with me today.
Diane Voigt,
Aye.
Betty Koenig,
Aye.
Natalie Grant,
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski,
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher,
Aye.
Thomas Harlan,
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia,
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye. Passes 9-0. Okay, we're back to it. Anything else? Mr. Brooks? No? I am not seeing anything else, so let's give it a whirl. Maybe we could have a roll call. Mrs. Ettinger?
Mitch Gallagher,
Aye.
Thomas Harlan,
Aye.
Diane Voigt,
No.
Natalie Grant,
Aye.
Betty Koenig,
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia,
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski,
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye. Passes 8-1. I think we're done with this business. Yeah? Okay. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. Mr. Clark, will you present the gifts, please?
Yeah, we have a handful of gifts tonight. Waukesha School District MAID program received $3,500 from Prolog GE and $3,500 from Generac. These funds will be used to update, repair, or purchase new equipment or project supplies. Hatfield Elementary received $2,000 from River Glen Christian Church to be used to provide fine arts jamboree T-shirts to all students. Waukesha West received welding whips from Eaton Corp. These will be used in metal fabrication classes. And Waukesha West Girls Soccer received $500 from Good Faith Saunas and $500 from K ATM and Amusement. These gifts will be used for team parkas, uniforms, equipment, and other necessities.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of those individuals and companies.
Should be Betty for the consent. Script is on.
Okay, yeah. Your agenda includes various categories for approval. If any board member wishes to have an item set aside for separate consideration, you will have that opportunity. There are no expulsion panel actions this evening. Policy 7540.05, assistive technology and services is included. Does anyone wish to have that set aside or anything else? Okay. Mrs. Koenig, will you please present the consent agenda for approval?
I sure will. Thank you, Madam President. Earlier this evening, the Human Resources and Compensation Committee approved 16 resignations, 2 leaves of absences, and 825 new continuing or modified contracts. The information was provided in your packet, and an addendum was placed on your desk. I move that the consent agenda be approved as amended.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Brooks. Anything further? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Madam President, that concludes my report.
Dr. Siebert.
Thank you, Dr. Piasek. We'll begin tonight, as usual, with the overnight field trip report given by Ms. Kennerman.
Good evening. Recently, the following overnight field trips have been approved. The first one is for North, South, and West. They'll all be invited to take part in a choir and orchestra event in Nashville. That will be later this year. West Track and Field State Championship, West HOSA National Conference in Indianapolis, West Boys Golf State Championship, and West Cheerleading for a skills camp, and West FBLA National Leadership Conference in Texas, and that would be over summer.
Thank you, Ms. Kennerman. Quickly, the school year is once again coming to a close, which means we're in the season of field trips, recognition, AP testing, and graduations. And at our recent employee recognition event, we recognized 151 people for 2,140 years of combined service. We celebrated 72 people for 10 years of service, 50 people for 15 years, 11 people for 20 years of service, and 18 people for 25 years of service. Next week, we'll recognize staff members who have attained 30, 35, and 45 years of service along with our retirees. We appreciate your attendance, as always, at those wonderful events that celebrate very special people who've had a profound impact on the students in the school district of Waukesha. So it's always really easy to feel Waukesha proud at the end of a school year. There's lots of great things as we reflect and end the year positively. And so we're certainly looking forward to a fantastic finish. And by the time we have our next board meeting, there will only be 1 day of school remaining in the school year. So it's flying by, and that'll conclude my report, Dr. Piasek. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert. All right, we'll move into our committee reports, I think. And we will begin tonight with Finance and Facilities, presented by Mrs. Kozlowski.
Correct. The best committee goes first, as I understand. The Finance and Facilities Committee met on Monday, May 11th. There were 2 action items and 2 discussion items. The first action item was the discussion and possible action on 2026-2027 health insurance plan. The administration recommended a plan design modification that includes a uniform 90% Tier 1 in-network co-insurance benefit level, an out-of-pocket maximum of $2,500 for single and $5,000 for family coverage. The committee approved on a 5-0 vote authorizing the change in health insurance plan, and I so move.
Second.
Any questions about that? Mrs. Voigt.
It's not a question, it's just a compliment on how well the district has handled the medical, the insurance, the whole end of things that we've been observing. There was a nice timeline built into the presentation, and, having seeing so many of those changes and the switch from the clinic that we had back in the day that was not functional to be able to use as a staff to what we have now through the program. The one slide 9, I think it was, that had all the different benefits that we're offering now. The prescription benefits and things like that through the clinics are just so impressive. And I just, hope that everybody can become more aware of those and take more advantage of them, as we make these changes. I think we've done an amazing job of trying to keep the costs down in a variety of different ways. And I just want to commend the district for what we've done over the years.
Anybody else? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
The next action item was the discussion and possible action on school resource officer contract addendum. To better meet the needs of the School District of Waukesha and the City of Waukesha Police Department, the proposed addendum was brought forward with new language that will allow for mutual agreement as to the placement of the 6 SRO officers serving the district, instead of the current language that names specific schools. Both parties agree that the new language will provide for more flexibility in managing the SRO program over the life of the contract. The committee approved on a 5-0 vote the school resource officer contract addendum as presented, and I so move.
Second.
Anything else?
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
The first discussion item was the Long-Range Budget Planning Act 10 overview. The administration presented an overview of the impact of Wisconsin Act 10 had on labor relations and the board's ability to manage the daily and budgetary functions of the district. It was pointed out that no one knows what the outcome of the current legal challenges to Act 10 will be. The administration will continue to monitor related legal decisions and their potential fiscal and operational impact on the School District of Waukesha. The second discussion item was the monthly budget report. The administration shared a new monthly budget report format that will continue to be improved in the months ahead, with the goal of providing the committee and Board of Education a more concise and informative report. A friendly reminder, moving forward, the monthly budget report will be a 1-month lag from previous reports to allow for additional analysis and review by business office staff. Approval of vouchers will continue to be for the current month. It was reported that the operational and special education funds are at levels comparable to those in March of 2025 and are operating as expected. And Dr. Piasek, this concludes my report. The next FNF meeting will be held on June 8th at 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom.
Thank you, Mrs. Kozlowski. The next committee this evening is the Teaching and Learning Committee, presented by Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you, Madam President. The last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting was held Tuesday, May 5th, 2026 at 7 p.m. here in the boardroom. We have 4 action items and 2 information items on our agenda this evening. Our first action item is the AP Statistics Resource Renewal. The College Board is revising the AP Statistics course and test for the 26-27 school year, which will require us to replace the curricular resource previously adopted in 2020 to align to the change in number of units and pacing of the course. The Teaching and Learning team first presented information on this topic in March as part of the curricular resource renewal process. Last week, the team recommended the adoption of the Practice of Statistics 8th edition. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved the Practice of Statistics 8th edition for an 8-year contract as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Harland. Any questions? All right, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Okay. Our second action item is AP Biology Resource Renewal. The 9 through 12 Science Department went through a major curriculum review process in 23-24. However, AP Biology was not part of the process at that time. The last revision of AP Biology occurred in 2019, and the current curricular resource was published in 2015. The Teaching and Learning team first presented information on this topic in March. Because of the changes in the AP Biology course, framework, and test, the AP Biology teachers are recommending that the updated version of the same text currently used be considered for future use for AP Biology, called Biology in Focus. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved Biology in Focus as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Zenobia. Anything on that? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger?
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Our third action item is elementary science. Elementary science is the last remaining major elementary subject area to go through a curricular review process since this work began in 2021. The science review process was initiated during the 24-25 school year. The team evaluated the current curriculum's alignment with standards and analyzed student performance data from the past 5 years. The current curriculum is completely teacher-created and is different for dual language and monolingual classrooms in grades 2 through 5. The Teaching and Learning team first presented information on this topic in March as part of the curricular resource renewal process. Based on the research conducted by the review team, it is proposed that OpenSciEd's Activate Learning be selected as the elementary science resource. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved Activate Learning as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Harland. This is an exciting program, so this is going to be really cool to see in practice. The committee did a lot of work last week, but I think this was a significant one, so I'm really excited to see it in the classroom. All right, would you take the roll call, please?
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
And our final action item is AP US History Curriculum Review. The last revision of AP US History occurred in 2015 when the current curricular resource was published. However, College Board has revised the APUSH rubrics and test format, which are reflected in the updated curricular resource. The Teaching and Learning team first presented information on this topic in March as part of the curricular resource renewal process. Because of the changes in the AP US History course framework and the test, and the APUSH teachers explored multiple textbooks, ultimately weighing alignment to AP standards and exam-focused student and teacher content to finally recommend the adoption of Fabric of a Nation. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved Fabric of a Nation for an 8-year contract as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Second.
Mr. Brooks?
Thank you. So this is more of a broader commentary on AP as a whole, but I'm bringing it up here because I think it's the most pronounced in this specific textbook piece of curriculum. So we offer a lot of different AP opportunities here in Waukesha, and I'm grateful for that because we as a district understand and embrace the value that these courses provide for our students. It's an opportunity to get college level courses in high school, being able to earn college credit if you pass the exam. I think that's great. I think there's a lot of value as someone who personally benefited from AP courses when I was in high school. I'm excited to see that we continue to add and enhance opportunities for our students. I am deeply concerned with the direction that the College Board is taking these exams, and I believe that they are diminishing the value of the AP courses to the point where eventually colleges and universities are going to stop accepting them because they're making the passage rate so easy. For example, on this AP, in the AP US course, so in 2022-2023 school year, only 51.8% of our students passed the exam. The following school year, that shot up to 82.3%. Now, that's not to say anything against the students taking the exam or the teachers teaching the course, but a 30-point jump in 1 year is a statistical anomaly, and then it's followed up with another 81% this past school year. That's because that gap in between those 2 years was when College Board decided we're going to cut one multiple choice, so it's going to go down from 5 multiple choice options down to 4, and they also tweaked some things around the question and answer. We invest a lot of money in these curricular resources for AP because we as a district believe in them, but it's gotten to a point where we're essentially at the mercy of College Board when it comes to curriculum selection, because there are only a couple of different publishers who have textbooks that are aligned with College Board, that are aligned with the exam. And Mrs. Kozlowski brought this point up in the committee last week. We're now at a point where we are choosing curriculum because it teaches students how to take a test more than we are choosing curriculum because it teaches kids how to be good at history or how to be good at statistics or biology or whatever the subject is. I thought the other textbooks that we all voted on tonight were, despite those limitations as a result of College Board, still overall solid materials. I thought this AP US history curriculum was very, very minimal in substance. Yes, it does give you a lot of test-taking tips and tricks, and it does prepare you for the test well. But when the level of depth that it goes into around significant events like 9/11 is limited to 2 paragraphs in a however many 100-page book, you're not getting the depth of knowledge about history and why these events are important, which I think is what we're trying to teach kids when we're teaching them how to be good historians. Now, I think our teachers who are teaching these courses are exceptional, and they're going to be able to backfill a lot of the gaps in knowledge that aren't provided in the textbook. But it is disheartening to see where College Board is going, and as a district, we're essentially handcuffed to what their changes are. And it's my fear is that as College Board continues to diminish the value of their exam and their courses, you're going to see colleges and universities not accept the credit anymore. And it's going to be a decision that we as a district have to make of, is this still worthwhile? I still think it's worthwhile because I think we're teaching kids and preparing them for life after high school. But we're investing a lot of money, and on top of that, we have a significant proportion of students who don't even take the exam, which I think is a whole separate issue. These are just things that I think in the future we need to take into account as we're approving AP curriculum. So I just wanted to point that out because I think it's a problem that's going to get worse before it gets better, and it's not necessarily something that's within our control.
Something we discussed at the committee as well, and you were on the committee previously and also saw the second book, so there were 2 books that were considered. I think, at least for me, I felt the book that we did not approve seemed to have more substance. I mentioned during that meeting that I had compared a couple of sections, and the Reconstruction being one of them, and I struggled with both books because of what you mentioned as far as some of the bias or some of the omissions of things, trying to align more to the standards than to what is the best way to teach U.S. history.
Right, and I'm less concerned with bias because that's always going to be a factor in any textbook, right? It's you're at the whims of the publishing company and the author of the book. I think you can still have good content even if it's got some bias, and if we're teaching our students to be good critical thinkers, they're able to see through that. If we're just teaching kids to be good test takers, that's a different question.
Anything else on this particular book? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
No.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye. Passes 8-1.
Okay, and our first information item is Criminal Justice Curriculum Review Resource Adoption. Criminal justice has been offered as a semester elective in the Social Studies Department since the 2014-2015 school year and is a popular elective taken by upperclassmen. This course was not included in the 2022 Social Studies Curriculum Review and textbook adoption. Since that time, several new to SDW teachers have begun teaching criminal justice. These factors have created an opportunity to review and align the curriculum across the district. This presentation was the second of two in sharing the process that has been underway to research and recommend a curricular resource. The team provided the course outline at the meeting and recommended the adoption of a new digital curricular resource, Introduction to Criminal Justice. However, the committee members requested additional pricing and physical resource information, so this item was not approved and will be added to a future meeting agenda. Okay. And the final information item, due to a late meeting time on the TNL committee meeting evening, the committee agreed to postpone the civics curriculum overview to the next meeting. Madam President, that concludes the Teaching and Learning Committee report. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026 at 7 p.m. here in the Blair Administration Building Room. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving next to Student Services, given by Mr. Harland.
Thank you, Madam President. The Student Services Committee meeting was held on May 5th, 2026. There was one possible action item and two discussion and information items. The action item was possible action item was policy 5530.01, random drug testing for high school participants in athletics, co-curricular activities, and students with parking permits. This topic was first discussed at board committee meeting back on March 3rd, 2026, at the request of then board member David Wad. Since then, a draft policy was developed by reviewing multiple local school district policies and procedures on random drug testing and combining elements from several of them to align with the school district of Waukesha's vision. The committee discussed the draft policy, and representatives from Pro Healthcare attended the meeting to provide insight about the process. The committee asked the administration for more information, which will be provided at the June meeting. No action was taken on this item. The first discussion and information item was...
Mr. Harlan, I think there's some comments on this one. Mrs. Voigt?
One of the things I had said to David as he was leaving, that I thought that this was a legacy item for him to suggest to have a random drug testing situation that would, be non-judgmental and really help the kids that, would be found to be involved. The concern I have and the feedback I've gotten from others is that the way the policy has been written now, we're putting in a punitive piece to say that the parking privileges would be lost if you come back with a positive test. And that would also blow the whole concept of the privacy element of it. So I think we need to, consider some changes to the way it's been drafted to be truly, very conscious about being non-punitive and, as it goes forward, and to maintain the privacy of any individuals that would test positive, that'd be something that isn't going to be, communicated to others, like losing your parking privileges would be, so just a thought.
Mr. Zenobia?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to, thank the committee for bringing it forward. For the public who, I know there's a lot of discussion around, there's already been a lot of discussion around it. If you haven't watched Student Services, the mid portion of that, there's a lot of great questions asked by the committee. The guests that we had from Pro Health were very informative and helpful. And so it was a very good effort to discuss this policy. My question, I guess, to administration would be, I know there's been talk about, various groups that we would include in potential random testing. And my question would be, why would we exclude any groups and not subject the student body to random testing as much as possible? And I guess my thought in saying that is, just for one, to have the question answered, but I think if we're sending a message to our student body that the point of this is to identify and help where there may be an issue, why, in the event of fairness, wouldn't we include everyone? I don't know that that's tenable or not, but I am just curious, what would be the reasoning?
I can take a stab at that, Mr. Zenobia. When Mr. Wad brought it up, we started researching the other Waukesha County districts that do it. And the array of kids that were involved in all of those policies ranged from athletes to club participants that are competitive, to parking permits, and then like proms and dances. And then in working through all those policies, we removed the proms and dances and working with Mrs. Gren and Mr. Wad when we were putting it together. And ultimately, I think the reason in talking to some of the superintendents is there's a reason why certain kids were tested, because they're taking part of pieces or activities that are a privilege, right? It's a privilege to park, it's a privilege to play a sport, it's a privilege to be in a club that competes. And there's something to lose, essentially, right, from the co-curricular code in policy 2431, or in the parking where it could be other districts are 18 weeks, we put 9. You don't have to do parking. You wouldn't have to do, you could do the whole school. The question, I guess, would be what would be the outcome if a student tested positive and they weren't in an activity? I mean, obviously, we still want to provide supports, right, and help kids. But
That's unacceptable.
it was looking at the other districts and trying to craft something that we thought could work for us. But to your point, you could test the entire school, I suppose, and do it that way too.
Well, I don't want to say that I'm playing devil's advocate, but I think in the issue of fairness, the question should be raised. I know when you mentioned the word privilege, it is a privilege to engage in the many activities, excuse me, the many activities that high school affords our students. I guess the point being, if the entire student body knows that it's a possibility, it would serve as a deterrence. I think most board members are very opposed to the idea that this is punitive. And I certainly don't support that, and I don't think this policy does. So if it needs to be fine-tuned, that can be discussed, to Mrs. Voigt's point. But I think it is extremely important to not only continue this policy, but come up with a workable solution. I do think the board and the district have a real responsibility to have, this is just one instance of drug testing. The drug testing is just one instance of a deterrence to the drug problem that is everywhere in society, not just here in the district. So I do think it's very important on that point to pursue this and adopt something that makes sense. It's a responsibility for us not only to protect the kids that are potentially using or what have you, but also the kids that aren't. So we all understand that. I do think that is very important. I guess my question, and you've answered it, really is just to say, if we truly do want to deter the entire student population, then is that tenable or not? I would add that part of what I heard our guest from ProHealth say is there's only so many tests that we would be doing per month, and I think that's kind of set. So it sounds to me like that number is fairly low in comparison to what our student body is. Mm-hmm. So in a process, we're not going to be rolling out hundreds and thousands of drug tests. That's not the point. The point is to put our student body in notice that this is an expectation that we have. This is, the conduct we expect. So I just want to ask that question and make those points, so thank you.
Mr. Brooks, and then Mrs. Voigt, and then Mrs. Koenig.
So from my understanding to Mr. Zenobia's question, and by no means am I a legal scholar, but so my understanding is that the Fourth Amendment, which protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures, would not allow us to drug test the entire body because students have a right to an education, and they would see that as a deterrent to students being able to access that right. Whereas things like, you don't have a right to participate in athletics. That is a privilege. You don't have a right to participate in a club. That is a extracurricular activity. So I think that's the reasoning why, just from a legal perspective. Again, I'm not a, legal scholar by any means, so don't quote me, but that was from the limited research I was able to do. Because I had that question as well of what are the limitations and how far or how limited are we able to be in this? For me personally, I do appreciate the conversation that we've been able to have on this. I think this policy has been brought forth from a place of good faith, of wanting to help students and wanting to be able to identify kids who need help. I think there are things that definitely can be strengthened in the policy itself. For example, we don't even specify in the policy that it's a urine test. I think that's something that parents should know. I'd like to see more specificity around kind of the protocol of when parents are notified, because I think that's critically important, that parent, having a step-by-step, and we don't necessarily need to spell out every step of that in policy, but the parental notification piece I think is important. I think having some specifics around metrics of how we're determining whether or not this is successful, because I do have significant doubts of whether or not this is actually the deterrent that we think it is. And while we were able to get some sort of kind of limited testament to that at the committee meeting last week of how effective this is at deterring other schools, I don't know that that was, for me, satisfactory. Where I fundamentally struggle with this, and maybe this is the recovering libertarian in me, we just voted on a parental rights resolution today. And while I agree, and I think everybody here agrees, that it is important to be able to protect our students and make sure that they're making the right choices and we're encouraging the right choices, we already have a lot of policies in place right now for when students are making bad decisions with substances on campus, whether it's during the school day or at a sporting event or what have you. When they're in our care, I think we have a responsibility to make sure that they are not under the influence, that they're not in possession of drugs. When we start encroaching on territory that I believe is the parent's job, right? When this is happening, we're essentially pre-selecting students without suspicion of, hey, we're going to random drug test you. We don't have to like the behavior, but if a kid is making a dumb decision over the weekend, I think we got to put that on the parents to police that. I don't think that's our job as a school district to police that. And that's, again, I'm not, I'm willing to see what the changes to the policy look like. I think we've had a good conversation on it. I'm not inherently opposed to it, but that's my fundamental issue with it, is I don't know that this is the proper role of government, even though it's well-meaning.
What else? Oh, it was Mrs. Voigt and then Mrs. Koenig.
Actually, one of the things I was going to follow up on is one of the points of discussion that you brought up at the discussion the other night. I hate to have kids not go out for sports, not go out for some of the extracurricular activities that include performance, competition pieces, because they might get tested because they're in that group. And I think that would be a negative kind of, result if that would turn kids off from actually getting involved in something that could really be good for them to be able to have that opportunity.
Well, and for me, it's not necessarily, we don't want to pass this policy because we're not going to have a football team, right? That's not what anybody's saying here. Nobody's saying that we need to ignore obvious red flags because go sports. But for me, the kids we're trying to protect and identify with this policy are the students who have real problems. Like, we're trying to identify a student who has a significant substance abuse issue before it gets really bad. And if a student is choosing not to do a sport because they would rather do drugs, that's exactly the kid that we are trying to help, and we are not able to help him or her if they're not in their sport, or they're not getting a parking pass, or they're not doing a club or activity. Now, to Mr. Zenobia's point earlier, and I'm not necessarily, again, I'm not saying this would move me either way, but if we're going to include clubs and extracurricular activities, I don't think we should be delineating that to just be competitive ones. If the goal is to expand the pool to be able to identify as many kids as possible, we should include all clubs, not just some. Again, not necessarily saying that is, that's still conflicting with my overall, I don't know if this is our job philosophy, but that was just one of the inconsistencies that I kind of found when we were having the discussion last week.
Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you. A good point that came out in the meeting, and I do agree to a point, is when it comes to who we're testing, someone had mentioned that when you go out and compete, or you are the face of the school, whether you're on a sports team, a debate team, whatever that may be, you are representing the school. And at that point, you are putting yourself out there as a face, and I can see an argument for, that type of situation. When you go get a new job, you have to pass a drug test. When you, certain, at work, at industries, there are random drug tests. So it's a reality that kids are going to have to face as they even move out of high school. But the point that was raised, and I don't remember who brought it up at the meeting, but when students are the face of the school, whether they're competing, they're on an actual debate team, I think that's a little bit different than a student, that wants to just join an after-school, little club. They're not competing. They're not going out and representing the school. I think there is a line that could be drawn, when a student puts himself in that position, that you are putting on a uniform, that you are representing your school, your district, however that may be. I think there, is arguments, that I could see that having merit. All students, again, I agree with what you said, though, that becomes a constitutional issue. You really can't blanket, in that regard. That would be a violation of their right to an education under those guidelines. But anyway, I don't remember who brought it up, but it was a good point. I think students, if they are going to be competing, they do put on a uniform. It should be a consideration that we should expect that those students are not under the influence, are not using drugs. I see that argument could be made. I'm not for or against it, but I can definitely see how that would differentiate between all students, or you want a parking pass. It's one of those things where you are representing your school. So there is an argument to be made there.
Mrs. Kozlowski.
Just short, I think that the other topic that is relevant is, our student athletes sign a code of conduct saying that they are not going to use drugs. This is learning, this is accountability, these are all of the things, and Mrs. Koenig, I agree with the face of the districts, but they're identifying and having accountability and the honor code matters. It matters a lot to me. And I expect that there is behaviors, and I expect that if you are going to commit to do something, that it's followed through. And if you make poor choices, as in we know kids do, the only way that they learn is through accountability. That's the only way they're going to learn. So I just caution with that.
So I know we've got a little bit to cover yet tonight. Since I'm not part of this committee, I did want to offer just a couple thoughts, because this is such an interesting topic to me that the arguments for and against don't follow along political lines. They don't follow along religious lines, age, et cetera. I think reasonable people can see reasonable arguments to both sides of the topic. I don't think that this was necessarily a legacy topic by Mr. Watt. I think this is something that has popped up periodically, and he was the one who took the initiative to bring it forward and kind of look at what other districts were doing. There are a lot of arguments in this that kind of fall flat. You know, the district's policies that we've compared or looked at arguably don't have any trouble putting together very successful athletics programs or extracurricular programs. I think that all the points made here tonight are relevant and are ones that we should consider. I agree with Mrs. Voigt that potentially a long duration of not being able to drive to school could be a violation of privacy, and that is not the goal. And the districts who are implementing these programs right now are not criminalizing students for positive tests. The proper protections are in place. Having done a lot of research on these programs, what you all have put together reflects something that's confidential, non-punitive, has parental notification, has confirmatory testing, has counseling and referral pathways, has return to participation opportunities, and is limited in scope. And so those are the things that would matter to me. On the question of, and I think, so data-wise, probably around 10% or less of parents actually know if their students are using illegal substances. Yes, it is the parents' responsibility to care for their children, but there's data that is very clear that the parental awareness is low. There's also quite a bit of data that 25% plus of kids who are using cannabis ultimately develop a cannabis use disorder. The THC is stronger than it's ever been. And when I think about, is it a government responsibility to be identifying these problems, a couple things come to mind. One, I think to Mr. Brooks's point, I don't think that you will see population shifts. I don't think there's sufficient evidence to show that. But I do know parents who have been informed unknowingly for the first time of their student testing positive for a substance because of a school drug testing policy, and that changed that individual's life in a positive way. I don't know what the instances are where we may identify a student who's using drugs by a random school test, and that becomes a bad thing for them unless we have implemented this policy inappropriately. And so we do need to talk about what the consequences are of that. But again, in terms of the government role, the difference of what we're doing here as a school district is that we have a custodial responsibility toward minors, and we have a legitimate interest in student safety and well-being. And so drug use aligns with drug deployment, and all of us have most of us have sat on expulsion committees for students who have not been able to break out of some of these cycles. So I do agree that there are probably some tweaks that could happen with the policy based on what I'm seeing. And I think this is another example where we're going to come at this with different perspectives. We're going to disagree on things, and that is absolutely okay. And if it turns out that we can't get a policy out of the committee, that's the result of the work that the board is doing. But I appreciate the effort that has gone into it, because I think there's a lot of different perspectives being considered. And I think what you've all brought forward and the conversations that we're having are ultimately going to make it better or result in the conclusion that we can't. So I think this is part of the process. So I appreciate the professionalism around it. Mr. Zenobia.
Thank you. Just one last thing. I wanted to, make a request then to ask the committee and administration to look at, I would phrase it as including the things that students participate in as other areas that we might be able to look at to, broaden the scope of the policy. So I'd like to see what that might look like and what other options there would be there. So, thank you.
Okay. You thought you were going to get out of that one quickly, didn't you? Okay, back to Mr. Harlan.
Almost did. Sorry. Our first discussion and information item was the role of the early childhood coordinator. Hadassah Robinson, the Director of Elementary Special Education, and Sarah Rear, Early Childhood Coordinator, shared information about working with students, staff, and families in the early childhood program. As coordinator, Sarah is involved with child find screenings, diagnostics, coachings, and family engagement. From the initial special education referral to the student's enrollment in the program, Sarah wraps around the families to support our youngest learners. Currently at our district sites, we are serving 35 early childhood students, and we have 21 at community sites, which include daycare, preschool facilities that fall within the school district boundaries. Our second item was enrollment and school choice update. Mr. Pat informed the committee about number of open enrollment applications for Waukesha resident students looking to transfer out of the district and non-residents wanting to transfer in. The numbers are similar to prior years. Final numbers of transfers in and out will not be available until the school year begins and students enroll in their new districts. This completes the Student Services Committee report, and the committee will meet again on Tuesday, June 2nd at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Next up is the Human Resources and Compensation Committee, presented by Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you, Madam President. Earlier this evening, the Human Resources and Compensation Committee met, and we have 4 action items this evening. Our first action item is the approval of the recommended candidate for the position of Assistant Principal of Butler Middle School. The administration is recommending Leslie Waltz for the position of Assistant Principal of Butler Middle School. Leslie Waltz is a committed and dedicated bilingual professor who has served in STW for 19 years, starting as a substitute teacher, building secretary, teacher, instructional coach, and coordinator. She had a deep understanding of the district, and her experience in all of these roles gives her a unique perspective. A resume and contract were provided in board docs. Salary and benefits will be according to administrator policies. Madam President, I move to approve the recommendation of contract of Leslie Waltz for the position of Assistant Principal of Butler Middle School.
I second the motion.
Seconded by Mrs. Voigt. Any comment? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Okay, the second action item is the approval of the recommended candidate for the position of Athletic Director of South High School. The administration is recommending Nicholas Conrad for the position of Athletic Director of South High School. Nick Conrad is a calming presence whose goal is to get students involved in athletics and activities, building a strong connection with South. He has experience navigating challenging situations and has established himself as a trusted AD in the Badger Conference and other surrounding conferences. Nick has a proven track record of building strong relationships with students and meaningful connections with families. A resume and contract were provided in board docs. Salary and benefits will be according to administrator policies. Madam President, I move to approve the recommendation and contract of Nicholas Conrad for the position of Athletic Director at South High School.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Brooks. Anything more? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Okay. Our third action item is the approval of the recommended candidate for the position of Principal of Hadfield Elementary School. The administration is recommending John Beck for the position of Principal of Hadfield Elementary School. John Beck has a passion for serving underserved youth and understands the importance of supporting the whole child while holding high expectations for all students. He is collaborative and wants to build systems to support teachers so they can focus on their number one priority, teaching. He recognizes the amazing work that has been done at Hatfield and wants to build upon that so students continue to grow. A resume and contract were provided in board docs. Salary and benefits will be according to the administrator policies. Madam President, I move to approve the recommendation and contract of John Beck for the position of principal of Hatfield Elementary School.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Zenobia. Okay, Mrs. Ettinger.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Okay, and our fourth action item is the approval of the recommended candidate for the position of Director of Secondary Special Education. The administration is recommending Rebecca Foss to the position of Director of Secondary Special Education. Rebecca, or Becca Foss, is a collaborative and student-centered leader who identifies areas for growth and works diligently to implement continuous improvement plans that enhance student outcomes. She is an exceptional communicator with extensive knowledge of special education, law, policies, and procedures. Becca brings valuable administrative experience with her from her previous district, where she served as the program manager for the K-12 special education programming. A resume and contract were provided in board docs. Salary and benefits will be according to administrator policies. Madam President, I move to approve the recommendation of and contract of Rebecca Foss to the position of Director of Secondary Special Education.
Second. Seconded by Mrs. Gren. Anything further on that? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Okay, and there are no discussion or information items this evening. The Human Resource Committee will meet again on June 10th, ahead of the next board meeting. And Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Koenig. All right, our last committee report this evening is Policy and Government Relations, presented by Mr. Brooks.
Well, I'm glad that we got through all those other committees so we can get to the real headliner. The Policy and Government Relations Committee met on Monday, May 11th, 2026. There was one policy discussion/information item on the agenda. That would be Policy 0167.3, relating to public comment and decorum at board meetings. Mrs. Voigt suggested adding additional information regarding interpretation services during public comment. The committee suggested that a number of those points regarding interpretation could be included on the district website rather than in policy, and my understanding is that some of those changes have been reflected on our website already. Any discussion on that? There were two action items on the agenda, the first one being Policy 3232, staff attendance at conferences, professional activities, and events. This is a new policy that was reviewed at the April Policy and Government Relations Committee meeting. Its purpose is to establish clear expectations for staff attendance at conferences, workshops, and other professional activities and events, ensuring that such participation aligns with the district's educational mission, legal obligations, and ethical standards. Revisions suggested during the April meeting have been incorporated into the current draft, including defining professional activities or listing professional activities as included in the title of the policy, as well as requiring staff members to obtain written approval prior to registering for submitting a proposal to present or attending any outside event if any of the following are true. 1, the event occurs during regular work hours. 2, the staff member seeks district reimbursement for any associated costs. 3, the staff member is attending as a representative of the school district of Waukesha. And then another change that was reflected is that staff may accept unsolicited items of nominal value as defined by the district's ethics standards. Nominal value means that the gift has a monetary value of $25 or less. The policy committee voted to approve Policy 3232, staff attendance at conferences, professional activities, and events, and I so move.
Second. Seconded by Mrs. Gren. Any discussion on that?
I will just add, as we reiterated in the committee, the purpose of this is not to deter staff from attending professional conferences or professional development opportunities. It's just to provide a one-stop shop of guidance for what's to be expected of them. One thing that we also clarified in the policy is an expectation that when they attend one of these events, they report back to their peers to provide that professional learning opportunity and the knowledge that they gain from that event with their peers. So I think that's a positive change as well.
I would add, I think, I appreciate the dialogue that was had on this. There is a need for it, for sure. As most sectors or companies or nonprofits or other organizations have guidelines around who can sign documents on behalf of the organization. So I appreciate what's there as far as the signing of non-disclosure agreements, and I think everything here has relevant application and hopefully will assist our staff as well in understanding how to go about engaging appropriately. I just do have one question as far as what the training or introduction of this will be for staff. Mrs. Getterman.
I can speak to that. Given earlier conversation around the policy, we had preliminary talked about just communication now, but also making sure that we spend time with principals this at the end, between now and the end of the school year, and then really share the information district-wide with all staff as we welcome everyone back next year by giving a common district message. So that's what we'll share and discuss with principals first prior to all educators and staff in the district.
Thank you. I think one of the gray areas in the past that is addressed by what's in the policy is staff when they come off teaching contract period, and then it's, are you going as a district representative or as an individual? And so I think this clarifies some of that and will probably be applicable before we get to professional development. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mrs. Ettinger.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Diane Boyd.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
The second action item was a revision to policy 7540.05 relating to assistive technology and services. Language was changed to state that the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services is responsible for administering and enforcing this policy. The policy revision was approved on the consent agenda this evening. Moving on to government relations, Kyle Kanan, Policy Director for the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, joined us to discuss a few current legislative topics in Wisconsin. Kyle summarized Wisconsin's Teacher Bill of Rights, Assembly Bill 614. This bill aims to create protections for teachers and students by strengthening the teacher's authority to manage their classroom, requiring parental notification when serious incidents occur, and establishing clear accountability so teachers can focus on teaching. The bill was passed by the legislature but vetoed by Governor Evers. Kyle also discussed the federal scholarship tax credit program. Wisconsin Assembly Bill 602 would opt Wisconsin into a new federal tax credit program for donations to K-12 scholarship granting organizations. The program would be funded through private donations and incentivized by a 100% federal tax credit of up to $1,700 annually per taxpayer. To qualify for the credit, contributions must be made to a certified scholarship granting organization, or SGO. This is a nonprofit organization that awards scholarships to families for a variety of qualified educational expenses. Scholarships may be used for expenses such as tutoring, curriculum, transportation, internet access, technology, instructional materials, special needs therapies for students across all education sectors. The Wisconsin Senate passed the bill on January 21st, 2026. The governor vetoed it on March 30th, 2026. And then Dr. Siebert also shared an exciting legislative update that was breaking kind of the day that we met. So the Wisconsin legislature is scheduled to take up today, and by last check, they're still deliberating, on a bill relating to the state surplus and tax relief, as well as school funding during today's special legislative session. This package includes rebate checks for taxpayers, property tax relief, approximately $600 million for K-12 education, and increased special education reimbursement funding up to 50% in the second year of the 2026-2027 school year, or of the next biennium. Under the agreement, about $300 million would go to general school aid, and about $300 million would increase special education reimbursement rates, 42.7% for the current school year, and then 50% for the next school year, as I said. Like I said, my understanding is they're still deliberating that as of the last time that I checked, so we'll see what happens there. Madam President, this concludes my report. The next Policy and Government Relations Committee meeting is scheduled for June 8th at 6:45 in the boardroom at the Blair Administration Building. However, this date may be moved to Thursday, June 4th to accommodate members, and that will be determined in the near future.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Lots of busy committees this month. All right, that concludes our regular business for this evening. Are there any recommendations for future board or committee action or discussion items? Okay. We do have a need to adjourn to closed session this evening. Do we have a tradition of having the person in the first chair? No. It's a new guy. Would anyone like to motion us into?
Motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent C, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. This is in regards to final notices of layoff or non-renewal.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Kozlowski. Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0, so we will adjourn to executive session. We will return. That concludes, though, our general business, and our next meeting is here in the boardroom on June 10th at 6:30 PM.